Oops. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to SetedMoon.com. Boy, that sounds strange to be saying that. It's been, I think, 7 weeks since I was here last. And what's going on? I just did something here. Okay, I've lost my controls.
We still got you.
Yeah, no, I don't know what I did. I've done something. No, that's not what I want. Anyway, I'm still trying to figure out the controls. We're recorded, right? Yeah. Okay, so welcome to Side of the Moon. And yeah, I'm supposed to be the host, but I don't know how to do this. It's been so long, I forgot what to do. We have been away in the Philippines, for those of you that are new and didn't know that. I went down there for I just went down there for the holy days. And Ike and Dennis started making phone calls, and next thing you know, I'm starting to speak at all these different groups. And I've been on 12 airplanes or 12 airports or in the last 7 weeks. And I think I've had 4 days where I sat around and did nothing. So it has been not a firestorm. It's been a super busy time. And I don't know, do you want to do the Torah portion? You want me to tell you what's going on? I can't read the chat. Where'd the chat go?
Let's get Kurt to open us up with prayer first, and then we'll just follow your lead, brother.
Okay.
Kurt,
And go ahead, Kurt.
All right. Jehovah, Father, Creator, Giver of life, and King of the universe, we give thanks to you for all the blessings that you pour out on us, many gifts. Father, your Sabbath day, we thank you for the rest that we receive on it. It's much needed. Our weeks are so full. Just to stop and focus on you is a real blessing, and we thank you for that. Father, we thank you for the work that Joe is doing in the Philippines. We thank you for bringing him safely to all his travels and bringing us home. And Father, we ask that you watch over the people in the Philippines as they get hammered and hammered and hammered by these storms. And I live in such a peaceful place, and I thank you for that. And just to watch other people endure these storms is hard when you can't do anything about it. And we just ask, Father, that you open our hearts and minds, help us to understand what you have for us today, Father. Whether it's through your Torah portion or news of the Philippines, we look forward to that. Father, there's people today that are setting out, specifically my family is setting out to keep the Feast of Tabernacles starting tomorrow. Father, I ask that you protect these people. We don't agree on the calendar. That's fine, sort of. We know that you have one set apart day, not 2 or 3. It's just one. And we ask that you open their eyes and help them to see that there's another perspective. And we just ask that you help them to learn and understand your ways and question all of us. Just help us to make sure that we're standing on the right spot, the right rock. And that's you, Father. Our hope is in you. So we put this into your hands now, that we ask that your name is glorified in heaven and on earth. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Kurt. And I'm still trying to figure out how come I've lost my controls here and why I can't see the chat. So I apologize to those of you talking in the chat that's your only way of communicating. And I don't know how to get it back working unless I restart. No, that didn't work either. Anyway, so we have been talking in the Philippines, and I've been updating you there in the newsletter each week. It's pretty exciting. We're we're going from one group to another group to another group, and they're getting bigger and bigger. But just if you want to click on your little hand signals, how many of you heard or understand what I'm teaching down there? Do you know that? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up. Okay, so you've pretty much been listening to it. Okay, somebody just gave me a wave. They can't thumbs up or thumbs down. I don't know who that was. Do you understand about the red heifer and what's going on there? Okay.
We haven't talked about that here, so maybe you should.
I want to hear
Well-
more too, and I've been out of the loop, Joseph, because of that direct hit of Ian was in my son's town, and they rode out the storm in their 3-story apartment, and then my other kids were in Sarasota. So there's been a lot going on, lost a dog and stuff. So I need to catch up. So whatever you can elaborate on, I really want to hear it.
Okay, well,
I've
thank you,
missed
Nancy.
everything.
There's when I heard that Ian was coming to Florida, I didn't think much of it. It's just not a super duper hurricane. And then I went and traveled for a few days, and then I came back, and all I kept hearing about this hurricane that hit Florida, and then no news. And all of a sudden, you start to see all the pictures. It was massive, massive. And the same message that I gave to the people in Cebu, we're in the arena there. It's called the Hoop Arena, and I changed the name to the Hope Arena, trying to get them to have a little bit of hope. But the Hoop Arena was damaged by Typhoon Odette, December 21st last year, and it's got huge holes in the roof. It's got the back wall blown out. It's got the front wall blown out. All the buildings around it are strafed with shrapnel damage and roofs torn off. The gated subdivision beside the hotel where I was staying, the front yards were still piled up with debris as they were renovating these houses for Airbnb. So they're going around saying how blessed they are. And I pointed out to them that they are not blessed. The same way I pointed out on Facebook that the people in Florida are not being blessed when they have these hurricanes and typhoons or tornadoes or floods, such as what was going on in Pakistan earlier in August. The drought in September in Europe and in the Yangtze River in China. These are not blessings. And I hammered that point home. People got right upset. Well, there's innocent people there. They're being hurt. That's not fair. That they're not innocent. If you shut your mouth, you're not innocent. Okay. And again, Joe 2 months lesson how to win friends and influence people. Yeah. Start talking about the curses that are happening to everybody around the world, and everyone thinks that they're holy cows, they're righteous, good people, but they're not. We're not. As a people, we are not. As individuals, you got to determine that, but we're not. And these curses are happening, and they're happening more frequently. The severity of them is increasing. It's not climate change. This is Jehovah, and he's pissed off at mankind because we won't obey him. And in Revelation 9, it says, what does men do? As it gets hotter and hotter, they don't repent. They curse God and continue in their sins. So again, Isaiah, what is Isaiah? I forgot. We'll rebuild. We're just going to rebuild. We're going to overcome this. We'll just rebuild. But nobody repents. So that has been my message throughout the Philippines. But they don't actually get what I'm saying, because they all think that, because they're singing and praising and clapping their hands, that they're good. That's not it. That doesn't make you good. Sing louder, pray harder. That doesn't make you better. Obedience does. It comes down to obedience every single time. Will you obey God? And that's basically the bottom line. And finally, I finally got a 6-hour teaching down to 5 minutes. Wow, unbelievable. Miracle just happened. So that is the basics of what I'm telling people. I got asked a question after I did the teaching. So what I'm teaching people is I'm showing them the Jubilee cycles. I'm explaining the Jubilee cycles, and I try to do that very briefly. And then I show them the Daniel 9 prophecy, and I show them how we are in the 70th Jubilee cycle and the 120th Jubilee cycle at the same time. So we're at the end of this age. And then I show them the middle of the Jubilee cycle, and that the middle between 1996 and 2044 is 2020. 2020 is the middle of the Jubilee cycle. And then we go and read Daniel 9:27. In the midst of the week, in the midst of the Shabbat, in the midst of the Jubilee cycle, he shall cut off sacrifice and offering. Okay, so right now, we've been able to prove it. I can spend 4 more hours proving it. I don't think I have to do that here with you folks. That the Jubilee cycle, the middle of it was 2020. So if it's the middle of the Shabbat, and the Shabbat is the 70 weeks, then I ask a very simple question. Where's the temple in order to have the sacrifice and offerings ceased? Where's the temple? We know that 2020 is the middle. We know it's the 70th Jubilee cycle. We know it's the 120th. Where's the temple? And suddenly everyone starts to get quiet, because everyone believes you got to have a temple in order to have sacrifice and offerings. Well, so now, you guys all know, I show them Hosea 14:2. The bullocks of your lips are the praises or the sacrifice and offerings that Jehovah is looking for, right? The bullocks of your lips. So now, all of a sudden, we don't need a temple. Or do we? Because it also says there, on the corners of the altar shall be abominations. So we need an altar. And now everyone's totally confused because we don't have a temple. We don't need a temple. Now we need an altar, but we need an altar. We need it with a temple. I don't know what he's talking about. Where's he going? And we're doing this with the scriptures and the PowerPoint slides. Are you guys okay? You're up to speed with what I'm saying, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just give me thumbs up, everybody. Yes, just thumbs down. If not,
Can you tell me 14:2? What
Hosea 14 verse 2.
Hosea? Okay.
Hosea 14 verse 2. Okay. Yeah, everyone give me thumbs up. Good. So you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, awesome. It's okay. It's so nice to talk to people that understand everything you're saying. You don't have to explain all the details. So that's awesome. And again, if you don't understand what I'm saying, please butt in here, jump in. I'll explain it to you. And because there's other people who won't say anything. So don't be afraid to jump in and say, I don't know what you're talking about. And this Susan Danielson, are you here? Susan Danielson. No? Okay. So Hosea 14:2, the bullocks is and the calves of our lips is the praises. That is what stopped when every church, every synagogue, every temple, every place of worship around the world got shut down. And then we got the odd group that says, oh yeah, but we didn't shut down. Every church around the world was shut down. There's a couple rebels in there. Okay. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? That is, again, the praises of our lips around the world being shut down. Now, that doesn't tell us which is the right group. Is it the synagogue or the temple or the Buddhist or the people in China, the Taoists, or maybe it's the Catholics, or I don't know which one it is, but they're all shut down. Okay, so whichever one it was, they're all shut down. Then I'm trying to get to the red heifer, so I got to lay this groundwork with you first. Then in Daniel 12 verse 11, I usually read 1 through 11. Daniel 12 verse 11, it says that from the time that the daily offering was taken away, it shall be 1290 days. Again, where's the temple for this to be set up? There is no temple, but we know that in the midst of the week, sacrifice and offering were ceased. 2020, the bullets of your lips. If you have a different explanation of what was stopped in 2020, I would love to hear it. And so, again, nobody has an answer for it. And if it is the temple, where's the temple? Again, nobody had got an answer for that. You can't build a temple till the red heifers are sacrificed. So we got a catch 22 going on there. So 1290 days from March 11, which happened to be Passover, and Jehovah does everything during a high holy day or during the holy days is when he acts and does things. If you're not looking for him at the right time, you're not looking for him. The Pharisees weren't looking for him when Yeshua came in 31 AD. Okay, go ahead.
I have been taught by the Michael Rood people that you do not have to have the temple. A couple of years ago, when they had a video of the Sanhedrin that was chosen and a replica of the altar, preparing for that, Michael Rood was teaching that if they can get that altar on the ground of the temple ground, then they had a red heifer to cleanse it, then they could begin sacrificing. They do not need the temple. And thus the red heifer has been, out in the media, and people that follow Michael Rood's teaching are thinking along those lines. I'm not saying I know or I believe that. I'm just saying that I watched that show of his with those people discussing all of that. And they've never mentioned anything about the sacrifices in 2020 being stopped. I've never heard anyone else teach that but you.
That's because, and thank you, Kay, for saying all that. And I want you all to remember what she just said. We're going to be touching on almost everything that Kay just brought up. And I'm not trying to shoot Kay down here. That is messianic thinking, which is awesome. But we need to address those things. I'm talking about Christian thinking right now, which is we need a temple. Again, because they don't even read the Bible, so they don't understand these things. So yeah, a lot of the stuff that Michael is talking about is because nobody understands the Jubilee cycles. Okay, so in the latest book that we put out, The Restoration of All Things, we talk about all the things that were lost and everything that needs to be restored. All those things that have been restored, I believe, have now taken place. And before Messiah comes, Elijah will come first and restore all things. So what are the all things that need to be restored? First of all, is the Sabbath, the holy days, then the holy days at the right time, the land, the language, the watching for the barley and the crescent moon, and the Jubilee years, and the name Jehovah. So these are all things that have been restored. They're now being practiced. All these things have taken place just in the last Jubilee cycle. 2 Jubilee cycles ago, or 3 Jubilee cycles ago, the Seventh-day Adventists began. They started actually with the Sabbath with the Miller group. then we had the language being restored in 1881. And then the drive to get the land started about 1881 as well, and was culminated in the Balfour Declaration, which actually didn't culminate. It took place in 1947 after the Jews were slaughtered. So all these things, this history is there coming to a head at our time. But if you're not looking, then you don't know what to watch for. And we have all these other people watching for all kinds of crazy things like the Nephilim. Totally just wasting their time. They're not watching for Jehovah. Nancy, go ahead.
Okay, so the foundations of this list came from different scriptures that you found, is that correct? And I was trying to
Foundation
write them.
for what list?
Well, you just said these things that had to come to, I guess, come to pass, or it had to happen, like the Sabbath rest, the holy days, the land. You mentioned the land was 1881. I was trying to write them down. I couldn't write as fast as you were listing them off. And then you mentioned the language. You mentioned, returning of watching for the barley and the sighted moon. And I'm like writing as fast as I can. And I think I left some things out.
Yeah. So stop and ask yourself a question. What things were lost?
Okay.
What was lost? Nobody asked that question. What has been lost? When did these things get lost?
We went
So-
into exile, right? And even beyond that, there were some things that were kept. So what you're saying though, were there groups that still kept Sabbath though all this time?
Yes,
Okay.
there were Jewish groups that kept the Sabbath during all these years. There were the Way or Nazarenes or Netzarim who kept the holy days. There were Karaites who kept the holy days at the proper time throughout these ages. There were small groups, right?
So I guess my question is, I know you've put these things together. Is there anywhere specific saying all these things come to pass before, A, these things happen before B happens?
No,
Or is it just, okay.
right? So if there was a list out there, then, well, hey, that's easy. We'll just restore the list. But Jehovah's called you to be kings and priests. Therefore, he's expecting you to read the Torah and understand the Torah. And then from that, to make intelligent decisions and to look at things and say, okay, this is what needs to be fixed. We're keeping the crescent moon and the barley. We kept it a month early this year. You're doing that not because you're following me, because I keep telling you not to do that. I'm telling you, here's the facts. Here's what you have to decide. Is this barley ripe or not? If it's ripe, do we have enough barley to do the wave offering? So these are all decisions that we must make. Where do we get that understanding from? From studying the Torah. Where do you get the deeper understanding? From actually doing the research, right? And this is all these things is what Sighted Moon has been publishing since 2005. A deeper understanding of the calendar. How do we understand Torah, and what does it mean? And again, I've been always. I don't think I've ever told any of you to follow me, right? Except Randy when he was pushing me up Mount Sinai. Follow me up, keep pushing, right? So we're all supposed to be doing that because you're all independent kings, right? I'm going to be having to hopefully. My city kingdom beside yours, and we'll all get along because we're keeping the same law, not on 2 different calendars or 3 different calendars or 5 different calendars. That's not going to happen in the millennium. So what's missing? What has to be restored? Again, there's no list. You have to figure that out. And that's what I've done in the latest book, The Restoration of All Things. Have I missed anything? Maybe. The temple ceremonies, they have not been restored. The Levitical priesthood, we may have that with the Temple Mount Institute. Okay, but if you're going to follow them, then you're not going to believe in Yeshua. So then we got people that say you got to only obey the no-hide laws. Well, where's that? Where's that law? The no-hide laws say that Gentiles aren't to keep the Sabbath. Okay, well, if we're going to do the no-hide laws, we're not going to believe in Yeshua. So, there's all these things that people don't think about when they open their mouths and start saying, well, we got to do this and that. So we got to do Torah. That's the only thing we have to do. And that's what has to be restored. And Judah does not do that. If you follow the holy days in the fall, here's another, we've done all these studies at our site. The postponement rules, where do they come from? When were they created? They were not created with the Hillel calendar. They developed over the last, 2,000 years, 1,700 years by themselves, postponing the fall holy days. Now they're also postponing Passover. Where does that rule come from? Why do they have these rules? Well, the first or the third rule of the postponement rule says so that the crescent moon will not be seen in another part of the world before it's seen in Jerusalem. What? Why are we talking about the crescent moon in the Hillel calendar? Because the Hillel calendar was there to replace or to help you keep the crescent moon calendar in the diaspora. But over time, it has developed into the conjunction calendar, and no one even thinks about the crescent moon. Again, I'm getting offline or off track here, but all these things have to be restored. And if you don't understand how they got distorted and replaced and forgotten, then you won't know what has to be restored. So again, that's the process I went through in the book. What was lost? When did it get lost, and who lost it, and why was it lost? And a lot of it happens because of persecution. And then in the diaspora, people forget stuff. You get blended into the community that you're in, just like we're all doing here now, dealing with, in the in the Philippines, they started playing Christmas music a month ago. So you get blended into the communities that you're in, and then you forget the Torah, you forget Jehovah. And that's what happens over hundreds of years. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes hundreds of years, 2-3 generations for people to forget stuff, but it happens. So, again, the red heifer, getting back to that. So we have in the middle of the week, we have the 1290 days in the Daniel 12, verse 11. And then in Daniel 8, verse 13, it also says from the day that, or the time when the daily is taken away until you, until the saints will be vindicated, it's going to be 2,300 days. So the word vindicated is, that's Daniel vindicated, and the other vindicated is in Revelation 6, verse 10, when the saints underneath the altar are asking how long until they will be vindicated. That means their deaths, their martyrdom, those who are beheaded for the truth. Again, that's 2,300 mornings and evenings, or 2,300 of the daily sacrifice or daily prayers and offerings. So what that just shows you is that there's a martyrdom about to begin. Sometime after the abomination set up and until the 2 witnesses show up, there's going to be a persecution of the saints. That's us. That could also be the DNA descendants who don't keep Torah, but I'm not so naive as to think that we are immune from this. So we need to be ready for it. We need to get ready for it. So that's from September 22nd, 2023 until I think about June's, I forgot the date, June 6th. I'm not sure if that's the right date. I forgot.
June 28, Joe. I just looked it up.
Thank you, Kurt. June 28th. 2026. And that date seems off to me, and I'm not sure why, because I still got this thing that the two witnesses are working from the fall feast until Passover 3.5 years later. So there's still room to understand more and adjust here. So that persecution is still there. Again, Cyrus is not mentioned in the Cyrus Harding is not mentioned in the Bible, but he pretty accurately, almost to the day, warned us of this financial crisis that we're now entering into. I believe he said September 24th, and wow, didn't things start to go south about that time? So we also have Russia threatening the United States with nuclear armaments, and President Biden saying that we're on the verge of slipping into Armageddon here very quickly. Please forgive me while I suck on this suck candy so my throat can start coughing here. I apologize. We're right on the edge of a lot of different things right now. And if you don't know what we're watching for, then you're watching all this other stuff that, you know, we're in the cycle of sword, famine, and plague. And again, I focused on the sword part because that's the first one that's mentioned, and the plague came first. Famine is now here. I think it's 335 million around the world are on famine's doorstep. And it doesn't take very much for that to change. The food prices are skyrocketing. Inflation is going up. Interest rates are going up, making everything else go up. People are now starting to go on strike to get their wages to go up, which sends inflation up even further. And so interest rates are going to start to shoot up more, meaning that the price of food is going through the roof. In the Philippines, a bag of rice is more than tripled, almost quadrupled in price. And the rice is a basic food down there. Everybody eats rice every day. How long can we carry on doing this? Okay, so if I'm wrong in all of the stuff I'm saying, awesome, great. But all these end time prophecies must take place before 2044. You only got 22 years left. No matter which theology you subscribe to, all these end time prophecies must take place in this next 22 years. How's that going to happen? I've laid out my understanding according to the Jubilee cycles. If yours is different, awesome. Figure it out, let us know. But it all has to take place. 3.5 year tribulation, 3.5 year two witnesses, the 2,300 days, whatever that is, and the 10 days of awe. It all has to be in there. So when, where, if you don't agree with me, figure it out, let us know. So again, if all this stuff has taken place, there's still this red heifer thing. And as I was presenting this to the MLTC in Manila, which is Ike's group, Joji came up to me afterwards, and I'm trying to work on the book, the Abomination That Makes Desolate book, and get that one done and out the door. And Joji asked me a very simple question about the red heifers. And we started looking up the scripture that he was looking at, which was, let me see if I can pull it up here, because it sent me for a loop. And I think it's Isaiah 66. Isaiah, where is Isaiah? Oh, do you want me to share my screen? Let me share my screen. Share screen, come on. Can I not share screen? Oh, there we go. Okay. Kurt, can you see that? Thank you. Okay, Isaiah 66. I think it says 66. Or it might be 60, verse 3. Yes, Isaiah 66. So what I've been doing is I go to Isaiah 66 and I start in verse 18. Yeah, and I start verse 18, and I'm talking to the Filipinos and I'm showing them where they're mentioned in the Bible. And Joji asked me this question about the abomination and the red heifer. And it led me back here to this verse in Isaiah 66, verse 3. So he who kills an ox is as if he killed a man. He who sacrifices a lamb is as if he broke a dog's neck. He who offers an offering is as if he offered swine's blood. And he who burns incense is as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, what is this talking about? And then I realized what I was reading, starting verse 18. Well, so I went back here and I just started from the beginning now. So it says, Jehovah, heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where's his footstool? When you study this out, the footstool is the altar. And that altar and the footstool is Mount Golgotha. Mount Golgotha is where Yeshua was killed. Where was Yeshua killed? Right beside the red heifer altar. Okay, you see how this is all connecting now together? Then I started to think, well, have I been missing something here by not reading Isaiah 66, starting verse 1? Where then is the house that you build for me? And where is the place of my rest? So just let me stop sharing this. Let me see if I can pull up something else for you that I've been looking at. Where is it? Downloads. Let's see, downloads. Come on. Okay, not desktop. There it is. Okay. Okay, let me go back to share screen. Pop this up. There you are. Kurt, again, can you see this? Yeah, okay. Can I make that bigger? Yes, there we go. Nancy, is your hand up again, or is that from before? It's up again?
It's up. I just wanted to say, because as soon as you said about the location of the altar for the red heifers and the location for Yahusha, when these red heifers came in, Becca had passed one of the trucks. That's why I think she looked everything up. Then she was able to post something where I was able to read distinctively about why they were doing what they were doing. And it mentions the reason why they had to be unblemished and everything. And it was like, in order to get ready for their Messiah to come, they had to sacrifice the pure unblemished heifer. It's like a ritual that they must do in order for their Messiah to show up.
Well, their Messiah is our Messiah. So it's the same Messiah. They do not realize who he is, that he already came once. Whereas most Christians do not think it's the same Messiah. They think it's a different one. It's the same one. It's Jehovah that they're looking for, right?
Right.
Christians are looking for Jesus. And here's where the problem is going to arise. The Antichrist is going to come looking like the Messiah.
That's what
But
I
if
was
you-
thinking, exactly.
And if you do not know the Torah, then you're going to be deceived. Because if possible, even the elect will be deceived. So we're talking about very similar things. It's like the two goats in Leviticus 16. You cannot tell them apart, right? So the high priest has to choose by lot which one is the one that represents Jehovah and the other one which represents Azazel. So Randy, can you do me a favor? Pull up one of your pictures of Mount Sinai from the top. If you got an arrow, not Mount Sinai, Golgotha, the Maison d'Abraham. Can you pull that up on your screen for me? See if you can find one quickly. What we're looking at here is the Ma'al, I'm not saying that, Ma'ali HaZitim. This is a Jewish subdivision on Ras Al-Mud, which is on top of Golgotha. And if Randy can help me out, then that would be great. Tell me when you got it, I'll give you back the screen. So this complex here, there's 6 apartment buildings in here. Can you see my mouse there? Nancy, I see your face. Can you see my mouse moving back and forth? Yeah, okay. So these 6 apartment buildings, they've all been built in the last, I think 10 years, I'm not sure. But they're the only Jewish subdivision in the Ras Al-Mud. But, and Randy, you'll recognize this road going up here. This is where we went to the Maison d'Abraham. And my mouse is right at the gate to the Maison d'Abraham. And Randy, there's where you and I went into that
Mechanic shop.
mechanic shop,
Yeah.
trying to look for our entrance. Okay. You ready to pop your picture up there? I need your
Still
picture
download.
before I carry on. So I'll stop sharing. I'll give you the screen. You can pop that picture up.
It's still, I just turned them off this morning to clear my computer and now you need them.
Yeah. Are you putting the video or are you putting the picture?
I'm putting a picture.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. You got, okay. Can you got another one, like a one from further up, like the drone shot?
Different folder. Be right back.
Okay. So leave that one there.
Oh.
I'll explain that while you're getting the other one. I want an aerial view if you could. So the picture that I just showed you, if you look and here my mouse is, so there's this, whatever that is there, a car, yeah, that's a car. And there's this lot right here. Nope, to your
No,
right.
there was no car back where you put your mouse. We're looking at Randy's picture of like a circly courtyard kind of thing.
Yep. So Randy, okay, move your mouse. Maybe they're not seeing mine.
Yeah, they're not seeing yours.
Okay, put your mouse up there where the cars are.
Okay.
Okay, go to the right. Yeah, right there in that area. That's the area. And if you go further to the right to the white building on the right hand side, yeah, that is that shack that I was about to show you. And then behind there is the those apartment buildings I was talking about. So go back to the circle area, Randy.
Yeah.
This is where Yeshua was killed. Okay, this is the crucifixion site. Excuse me. If it's not there, it's within, I don't know, 50 feet of here. So it's very close. Okay, Randy, give me back the screen. Get out of there. You go find that other picture for me if you could, and I'll go back and share my picture. So the shack that we were just looking at here, you see my mouse now? Kurt, I see your face. You see my mouse? That's that blue building that we just saw in the other picture. The red heifer altar site could very well be this piece of land here that has been saved from the construction that the Jews were doing. This is owned by some Muslim that doesn't want to sell it. And that could be the red heifer site. If it's because Yeshua will not be killed or crucified on the red heifer site, right? They're not going to do that. So the red heifer altar was still there when Yeshua was alive. That is where they offer the sin offering. That's where they offer the goat on the day of Leviticus as a sin offering. It was all done outside the temple. It was done on the altar, which is Golgotha. This is Mount Golgotha that we are on. Randy, you're killing me. You ready yet?
It's buffering now for some reason. Sorry, brother.
No, that's okay. I'm giving you a hard time. Haven't taught you for so long.
Right.
So the circular, you see, if you see my mouse, the circular area is right over here. Okay. So that's where Yeshua was killed, beside the red heifer altar. And the Jews have now bought this area and put up these apartments. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here, Randy. You, whenever you get that, just pop it in there. I'm gonna go back to my share screen. Where'd you go? Okay, hang on, get out of here. Now share screen. There we go. So, Kurt, if I make an offering of a bull right now here in Orangeville, what will I have done?
I don't think it's a good idea.
Why?
Like he says, it's the bullocks of our lips that he's looking for.
Okay, but there's a scripture, I believe, in Deuteronomy, I'm not sure where it is, that says if you offer anything outside Jerusalem, you will be as if you killed a man. Right? So that's why
Right.
people want to make a Passover sacrifice, and we always tell them, no, do not do that, because it says in Deuteronomy that if you offer a sacrifice other than at the temple, it is as if you killed a man. It is a sin.
So here's my question that comes up in this is,
Before you answer the question or ask the question, can somebody pull up that scripture in Deuteronomy for me, just so we got, a background for what I'm saying?
Is it Deuteronomy or is it Isaiah 66 verse 3 that you read before?
No, it's not Isaiah 66 verse 3. It's in Deuteronomy. Okay, Kurt, go ahead.
so what would be well, let's say I'm going to kill a lamb, and it happens to be Passover because I'm hungry. I need to feed my family for Passover. I need a meal. What would be the difference between providing for the meal and a sacrifice? What would
Offer.
distinguish the two?
So a sacrifice is completely consumed by fire as an offering to Jehovah. The lamb that you eat is something that you eat. You take it home, you eat it. It's all roasted, right?
Yeah, cooked but not consumed by fire. Okay, so the consumption, you're going to burn the whole thing as a
right.
sacrifice.
So
You don't
you're-
get to eat it.
You're looking for Deuteronomy 16 verse 5.
Let me just pull it up here. You still see my screen, right, Sandra?
Yeah.
16 verse 5. You may not sacrifice a Passover within any of your gates, which Jehovah your God, but in the place which Jehovah your God shall choose to place his name, there you shall sacrifice the Passover at evening. That's not the one. That also similar And I'm looking at my notes here. I don't see any notes to help me out. Deuteronomy 16:2, that's not it. 12. Okay, that's not it. It's as if you killed a man if you offered outside Jerusalem. Okay, so
Sure,
maybe
that
somebody
wasn't
can,
Isaiah 66?
yeah, I'm pretty sure because it was in part of the law. It's part of the Deuteronomy law.
Okay, but we just read Isaiah 66 verse 3, and it says, he who slaughters an ox is
Yep.
like one who kills a man.
Yep, that's not it.
Okay, so
Where did
there's a
Isaiah
different
get it
one.
from? He got it from
Okay, so
Deuteronomy
then
12. So
what
if I
about-
look,
What about Jeremiah 7 verse 24? But they did not obey or incline their ear, but walked in their own counsel and the stubbornness of their evil hearts, and went backward and not forward.
no,
Okay.
I'm
Isaiah
pretty
1
sure
verse-
it's Deuteronomy.
Sorry, Deuteronomy 23:18. I'm
Deuteronomy
not sure if that's
23,
it, but
23:18.
No, just.
23:18.
You shall not bring the hire of a harlot or the price of a dog into the house of Jehovah for your God, for even both these are hateful to you. No, that's not it.
No.
How about Deuteronomy 12, starting in verse 5? You shall seek the Lord at the place which the Lord your God shall choose from all your tribes to establish his name there for his dwelling, and there you shall come, and there you shall bring your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes. Is that it?
Keep going. You might.
Oh, the
reading it
tithes,
here.
the contribution of your hand, your votive offerings, your free will offerings, and the firstborn of your herd and of your flock. There also you and your household shall eat before the Lord your God, and rejoice in all your undertakings which the Lord your God has blessed you.
Verse 8. You shall not do according to all that you know. Okay. Yeah, you're close there. But there's a verse that says if you do it elsewhere, it's as if you killed a man. Maybe
Verse
it's
12, verse 12, you shall rejoice before the Lord your God, you and your sons and daughters, your male and female. Oh no, hold on.
I think the word that it's as if you killed or as if you murdered or committed a murder. Do you
Keep reading
sacrifice
down.
an offering
Take heed of yourself that you do not offer. Keep reading.
that you see? Okay, yeah, but in the place which you already chose for your tribes, there you shall offer your burnt offering.
Hey, Joe, can you hear me?
13 verse 14. Who's that?
That's Eric.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I was going to say, he asked that question about the difference between a sacrifice and a slaughter. It's always what you do with the blood. If you bury the blood, it's a slaughter. If you put it on an altar, it's considered a sacrifice.
Yeah, but I didn't ask that question. I think the question was if you ate a lamb, or what's the difference between the Passover lamb eating it versus one that's sacrificed. So, but right now we're looking for that verse where if you offer a offering outside Jerusalem, it's as if you killed a man. It's
Is
as
it-
if you murdered.
Is it Deuteronomy 12:20? It says, when Jehovah your Elohim enlarges your territory as he promised you, and you say, I will eat meat because you crave meat. You may eat meat whenever you desire. If the place that Jehovah your Elohim will choose to put his name there is too far from you, then you may kill any of your herd or your flock, which Jehovah has given you, as I commanded you, and you may eat within your towns whenever you desire. That's
No,
not,
that's Deuteronomy. That's for keeping the feast of Sukkot. Right. Anyway, let's go back to Isaiah. Maybe somebody will find it later. And Isaiah 66, verse 3. And the reason I'm focusing on this, I haven't really brought this up in any of my discussions yet, because most people don't understand, any of the red heifer stuff at all that I've been speaking with. Well, the Christian groups, they're just fascinated by it all. But okay, go back to my stop share, and I'll share this other share screen. Brandy, did you get that picture?
I got a few now. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll give you the screen then.
All right.
Share some of those pictures with everyone.
We're looking straight down on Abraham, and there's that
Perfect. Okay, put your mouse over at the gate on the right. Yeah. So there's the gate, and just off the screen there is the area that I'm talking about. Show them where the crucifixion is. Yeah, right there. Right. And show them where the tomb is. That's right. Okay. So this is Golgotha. This is where they did the head tax. This is where they did the counting of the people. This is where they did all the sin offerings. They would not have done the sin offering where Yeshua was killed. Otherwise, they would have had to sacrifice him on top of the altar, which is ludicrous. So the altar would be nearby. Kurt, you got another picture, preferably to the right side? No. Hang on. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Right at the bottom. There's the right side.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The gate.
There's the gate.
Crucifixion
Okay.
site, and right there.
Show them where the city of David is.
Right here.
Well, it's on the other side. So it's across the valley from, your mouse is right, but it's on the other side from where his mouse is.
Yeah.
You got to go across the valley.
It's gonna be over here to the left.
Hang on, let me show them again, this picture. Show them that the apartment buildings there.
Here's the gate, crucifixion site, tomb.
Ezekiel's tunnel right there.
No. So the apartment building, show them that lot that's been preserved. Yeah, right there. Okay, so this lot that's been preserved. Now, if you got another picture, show them where Hezekiah's tunnel and the city of David is in relation to this. No, there you, hang on, where are we now? You got me lost. That's the Gehenna Valley. Yeah, okay. So, no, over here toward your right.
Okay, we found another picture here.
That's a good one too, for what I'm talking about. No, you got a Gehenna Valley is more to the right side. Yep.
Yeah. I'll just get you. Here's the opposite side.
Yeah. No,
What's that big green thing though?
the football field.
Yeah.
You got all the pictures of the one I want. That's good. Have you got one of the city of David?
That's what I'm trying to get circled around to. There you go.
Okay.
Part of it.
Okay.
The other part.
Okay, stop there. Just stop there. So right at the bottom of the picture. No, you moved again. Okay, stop there. Hold it. At the bottom of this picture is, there's the street. So the gate is up here to the left. Oh, yeah. You see the apartment building at the bottom? Right corner? Yeah, that's the Jewish apartment. No, not that one.
This one?
That one. Yep, that's the Jewish apartment building. There's the street going up to the gate. Okay,
Correct.
so now go across to the Gihon Spring there. Show them where the Gihon Spring is. Yep, down, right there in that area. That's the Gihon Spring. That's also where the Shem Stone is, right? So that's the city of David. That's where the Gihon Spring is, and that's directly across from this red heifer site. Okay, you see where the Dome of the Rock is? It's nowhere near this area. Okay. Okay.
There's Gehenna.
And that's a Gehenna. I can show them the Kidron.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, all the way down there. Okay, so let's get out of there. And the reason I'm pointing all this out to you is if they offer the red heifer offering, right? Randy, go back. Show me, go back to that picture, the last one you have with the Dome of the Rock. Okay, if they offer the red heifer offering at the Western Wailing Wall, right? If they offer the red heifer offering there, is that okay? That's as close as they can get to the temple. Go to the picture to the right of the Mount of Olives, where all the graves are. Yeah, perfect. If they offer the red heifer offering over here on top of the Mount of Olives, what's all around there? Graves. What does that make the red heifer offering?
Death, it's unclean. It's
It's unclean, right? So if we go back to our red heifer offering site, if Randy can pop that up. Okay, good. This is a Catholic area. Everything around here, all the buildings outside these trees are all Muslim, except for the Jewish one. You've got one more of the Jewish one again. No, no, no. Okay, give me the screen. I'll put in my picture.
There you go. And Kurt is asking about the Shem stone.
Shem stone is the standing stone that they would anoint to make a priest or make a king. It was in the temple. So that's the importance there. So if they offer the red heifer offering here, then that is a possibility of a being in the right spot. But if they offer it anywhere else, okay, now we go to Isaiah 63. Oops. That's the importance of Isaiah 63 now, is understanding this. Because if you don't, and then you can just do an offering anywhere and think it's okay, and it's not. Because now all the priests have now become an abomination. And the sin or the offering is an abomination. And is this the abomination that we're looking for? It could very well be, which then leads me to another question. Are we looking at two different abominations? And I haven't brought that up with anybody before, but that's been weighing on my mind now for a couple of weeks. Are these scriptures that we're looking at talking about two different abominations? One is the abomination of the red heifer offering, and the other one will be the abomination that stands up and is a statue that speaks. So I'm reevaluating and going through that again, trying to do that, but I have just way too many distractions and things interfering with me at this time. But I want you to think about it. So now, Isaiah 61 or 66, instead of it just being a one verse plucked out here and there, it becomes a chronology of events leading down to verse 18, which is where I always jump in for the Philippines. So now let's read it as a chronological record of things about to take place. So it says, Jehovah, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. That's the altar. That's Golgotha. Where then is the house that you built for me? Well, it's been destroyed. And where is his place the place of my rest? For all those my hand has made, and all those exist, says Jehovah. But to this one I will look, to the afflicted the contrite spirit, and the one who trembles at my word. Who's that? Who are those people that do that? Well, we want to say us. I hope it's us, but I can tell you it's the Philippine people. They tremble when they read God's word. They're really very different. Verse 3, he who kills an ox as if he killed a man. He who offers a sacrifice a lamb as if he broke a dog's neck. He who offers an offering as if he offered swine's blood. So the swine's blood, where is that done? That was done during the Maccabean times when, what's his name, killed the blood on the altar. And what are we doing here now?
Epiphanies.
Say again?
Epiphanies.
Epiphanies, thank you. And it's as if we're doing that swine blood now on the red heifer altar on Golgotha. Like that's, whoa, this is really starting to strike home. He who burns incense is as if he blessed an idol. So once they take the red heifer and start sprinkling the blood towards the city, then they'll start doing all these other things. And this is what Jehovah is going to consider them. Yea, they've chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abomination. So they'll think that they're doing good, and everybody's going to be on board with it. Verse 4, I also will choose the things that delude them, and I will bring their fears on them, because I called, no one answered. When I spoke, they did not hear, but they did evil before my eyes and chose that which I did not delight. Verse 5, hear the word of Jehovah, you who tremble at his word. Now he's talking to a different people now. Your brothers who hated you, who cast you out for my name's sake, said, let Jehovah be glorified, but he will appear to your joy, and they will be ashamed. Verse 6, a sound of noise from the city, a sound from the temple, a sound of Jehovah repaying his enemies. What's that sound like? That's not a good thing. Remember, what are we told by Matthew, what is it? Matthew 24:15 or 30? When you see the abomination set up, spoken of by Daniel, which abomination is he talking about there? Then let those flee. And you don't have time to pack a bag. You just need to get out of Dodge quickly. A sound of noise from the city, a sound from the temple, a sound of Jehovah repaying his enemies. Before she travailed, she gave birth. Before her pain came, she delivered a man-child. So this is a quick birth, right? He who has heard a thing like this? Who has seen things like these? Will the earth be brought forth in one day? Or will a nation be born at once? For Zion travailed and also brought forth her sons. Now we've always thought this was when Israel came through the Red Sea and became a nation. Or is this talking about us now? Because the earth is about to travail as she gives birth to a nation, Israel, the saints. Will I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, says Jehovah? Surely I will cause birth and restrain, says your God. Rejoice with Jerusalem and be glad with her. All who love her, rejoice for joy with her. All who mourn for her, that you may suck and be satisfied with her comforting breast, that you may milk out and be delighted with the fullness of her glory. What's this talking about? This is after the tribulation. For so says Jehovah, behold, I will hold out peace to her like a river. And so, okay, so now we're talking about Revelation now, where a river flows out from the temple, going to the Dead Sea and to the Mediterranean. And the glory of the nations like a flowing stream. And then you will suck. You will be carried on her sides and be dandled upon her knees. As one from his mother's comforts, so I will comfort you, and you will be comforted in Jerusalem. And you will see, and your heart will rejoice, and your bones will flourish like the grass. And the hand of Jehovah will be known towards his servants, and his fury towards his enemies. That is the days right in front of us. Right? I'm sharing this with you. Am I reading this correctly? Is it sounding much different now with this red heifer offering potentially being done at the wrong place? For behold, verse 15, for behold, Jehovah will come with fire and with his chariots like a tempest, to refresh his anger with fury, his rebuke with flames of fire. What's this? Now he's going back before the birth. Now he's coming with his anger. What are we supposed to do? Hide for a little while he spends his fury. For by fire and by the sword, Jehovah will execute judgment with all flesh. And the slain of Jehovah will be many. 7 towards 8 billion worth. Those who sanctify themselves and purify themselves to go into the garden behind one tree in the middle, eating swine's flesh and the hateful thing and the mouse, will be cut off together, says Jehovah. For I know their works and their thoughts. It comes together all the nations and the tongues, and they will come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them. Okay, so this is where I start talking to the Philippines. And I will send those who escape from them to the nations, to Tarshish, that's the Philippines, Pul and Lud, I think that's North Africa or East Africa, Draws of the Bull, to Tupul, again, the Philippines, and Javan, I'm not sure where Javan is, to the faraway coasts, again, the Philippines, that have not heard my fame nor seen my glory, and they will declare my glory among the nations, and they will bring all your brothers for an offering. This is the job of the Filipinos, to collect the remnant of Israel and to offer them to Jehovah out of all nations on horses. Again, so why on horses? Why on chariots and litters? Because we're going to be so crippled, so beat up, so, starving that we can hardly walk. And on mules and on camels to my holy mountain, Jerusalem, says Jehovah, as their sons of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel to the house of Jehovah. And I will also take some of them for priests. Again, these are the Filipinos he's going to make priests. For as the new heavens and new earth, which I will make stand before me, says Jehovah, so will your seed and your name stand. And it will be from one new moon to another, from one Sabbath to another, all flesh will come to worship. It doesn't sound like the Sabbath and new moons are done away with. And they will go out and see the dead bodies of the men who have sinned against me. For their worm will not die, nor will their fire be put out, and they will be an object of disgust to all flesh. Somber, is your hand up?
So you said we will have to go hide. Now,
That's
we're
Isaiah
supposed,
11:26 or 26:26.
so if we're to hide from Jehovah, nobody can hide from Jehovah and his wrath. So it must
Hang on.
be, it
Hang on,
must,
go ahead.
but it must be that he has us covered in a hiding place. We are under the shelter of his wings in a hiding place, because we can't hide from Jehovah. If we're going to go into hiding, it
Let me
has
pull
to
up
be.
that verse. Let me pull up that verse. What verse is it that tells us to go and hide? Hide yourselves in the chamber, in the room. I don't have the right chapter. Pretty sure it's verse 26. Anyone got the chapter for me? Nobody? Okay. I need to cheat now.
Isn't that 26 verse 20?
26:20.
26:20. Okay, that sounds right. 26:20. Come, my people, enter into your rooms and shut your doors around you, and hide for a little moment until the fury has passed by. So that fury is Jehovah. Okay,
So is
Sandra?
this, is this a hiding by our own strength, or is this a hiding that he does? What
Well-
what I'm saying is, if we're to hide in the Philippines, is it up to us each individually to get to the Philippines? Or is it, this is something that the Lord is going to do? He's going to whisk us away to the Philippines.
In 66 AD, the Christians, or not the Christians, the Nazarene, were sitting there keeping Shabbat, doing their things just the same way we are. And somebody came up to them and said, I had a dream last night that we were to flee to Pila. Not Pila. Maybe it's Pila. Someplace north of the Sea of Galilee. And were to do that. And they got up and they left. Now, that was 4 years before. But they did it. And some people probably thought it was crazy. But they did it. And it's based on somebody's dream. 4 years later, all the Jews in Jerusalem were slaughtered. Millions of them slaughtered, except for those Christians who got up and left in 4 years before. Did they have to physically walk, or did Jehovah rescue them? That's your question.
Right.
Is Jehovah going to pick me up and magically make me disappear and show up in the right place? Or do I have to actually do something myself? And again, the Christian mentality is, I don't have to do anything. God will provide. God will make it happen. God will do it. Again, so we
Okay,
have the
so
same. So just before you just let me go back here, Isaiah 26 verse 20, and come my people, enter thou into thy chambers and shut the doors about thee. So the word chambers is the word kedar or keder, right? Now, I show this in my slide presentation as the people of Kedar, which is so we're talking Het Dalet Resh, and Kedar is Kuf Dalet Resh,
yeah,
right?
it was different spelling.
A different spelling, but it sounds like the very same thing. Kedar, right?
No, this is cheder,
Okay,
and the other
Keder.
one is keder.
okay. Does that not sound similar to you?
Well, I guess it depends on, so the meaning of the chet here is it's a fence or a protected area or under the chuppah, and the kuf, the kuf is the back of the head, isn't it?
Kuf is the hand, is it not?
Back of the head.
It's the back of the head.
Hang
And
on.
no, that's
Hang on.
kaf you're talking about. Kaf is the open hand, the generosity, the covering.
Yeah.
So is it the same thing? I mean,
Kuf is head.
yeah,
Or no. Resh is.
well,
Head.
Resh is like a prince, so it's like an authority head, whereas Kedar is what?
Kuf is sun on the horizon, according to Eric's chart.
Okay, so let me get the Kedar here. I believe that'll be Isaiah 42, where are you? 42. There they are. Okay, Kedar. So Kuf Dal Arash, right?
So it means dark. So a hiding place would be in the dark.
Yep. It also means ashy colored skin,
Right.
right? down here in the bottom, dusky skin, ashy colored skin. So the question, going back to your question, does that mean we just sit here and do nothing and let Jehovah take care of us? Or does that mean we have to get up and walk?
Okay, so then the argument would be, well, I don't have enough money to get to there. You mean only the rich people are going to get saved? Only the people that can afford a plane? So I guess the thing is, we have to get to a hiding place. We have to do it on our own power. And it doesn't always mean, I guess the thing is, you got to take the steps to start with and let the Lord provide for the rest of it along the way, right? Like you said, those Nazarenes, they heard the warning and they got up and they left and they took a step. How they actually got to that place, you know, maybe they didn't have provisions, but maybe the Lord provided provisions along the way. We know that the Israelites, when they left Egypt, didn't take provisions with them, and
Well,
Jehovah
they did
provided
take provisions. They did take provisions. They took enough and they ran out after about 3 days.
well,
And
right,
then he provided manna.
exactly. So
And then he made water come out of a rock. Right?
So
Or
we
he threw a
just have
tree
to-
into a bitter pond and had clean water from the drink. Or he gave them wells in the middle of a desert.
so we have to be willing to make the first step and trust that Jehovah will provide for the rest. Instead of sitting back on our laurels going, well, I can't get to the Philippines. I don't have enough money for that. Okay, but be willing to, wherever you're going, get up and make the first step.
Well, first of all, Moses is the one who gathered them and said, you need to go.
Well, hang on. So Glenn, Moses was a nobody who was a shepherd in the middle of a field who came and said, the God of your fathers told me to tell you, let's get up and go. And the people said, who the heck are you? And then first thing that happens is they got their straw taken away from them. They had to go get their own straw to make bricks. So things didn't actually look good for Moses at that time. And yet he's saying, we're going to leave. But then he had a series of miracles, of plagues that take place to help back him up. But at first,
Right,
he was a nobody.
right.
So
But what I'm saying, I guess what I'm saying is, we need to rely on Jehovah, number one, not our own wisdom. I can't just say, well, I think, okay, oh, that's great. I believe everything you say. I'm just going to get up and go. It may not be the right time. It may not be the right way. There's so many different things there that, well, in my own personal case, I just, he hasn't touched me to tell me to move. Now, the other thing he does say in this second Exodus, that he's going to make it happen. Okay? So regardless of whether I want to go or don't want to go or what, I will be forced out of here to go. Now, at that point, I can choose to fight, or I can choose to go, or I can many other choices.
well, actually, at that point, Glenn, you don't have a choice.
But that's exactly right. You don't have a choice. You're going to go.
Well, if you're going to have to fight, then it's too late to go. So,
Yeah.
So,
Kurt.
so I just have a thought to add here. If we're like, this is a serious matter that we're discussing here, right?
Yep.
A person could easily jump off on a tangent and say, "Oh boy, this is just what I've been waiting for. I'm out of here,"
I'm
and
still
start
listening.
walking. But it-
my earphones are dying on me, so I got to find another set. So just keep talking. I can hear you.
Okay, so my thought is that we're basing this discussion on our English understanding, right, of this scripture. I think if we're gonna discuss this, pretty much every word in that Isaiah 26:20 needs to be ripped apart. And is that actually what it's saying? Right? Because it says, come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers. That suggests to me my chambers, something that I have in my possession already, thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee, hide thyself, as it were, for a little moment. It sounds like it's, to me, that's not running off somewhere. That's just hunker down right where you're at and don't stick your head up. That's what it sounds like to me. I don't get a message to run off to any particular place from this one.
Well, we don't have the message yet because it's not time. But when it's time, we need to have our ears open
For
Exactly.
that shofar blast.
and
Actually.
willing. I think the thing
Okay.
is willing.
So let me
Because-
ask you a question. And what is that shofar blast that you're listening for? What is it you're looking for? What is it that will be your side?
Well, good question.
Well, that's exactly what you're saying, though, because you're waiting for something, that you're waiting for that magical shofar that you're going to recognize.
Well, I think
And
we're
that's
talking.
okay.
I
Which
think
is
we're
okay,
talking
but-
about two different things here, though. Like there's a scripture in Matthew that says, when you hear the trumpet call, I think is what it says, to not go back to your house, don't come down from the roof, like to leave. And I think that's one situation that we're talking about. But this one in Isaiah, it doesn't read the same at all. This one suggests to me that this is just hunker down right where you're at. That's what I get out of it.
Well, so here's one of the things I've been talking with Lori Dawn about, and I've come against all the contention because I shared Joe's timeline in a ladies group this week and just absolutely got blasted. So Joe, I absolutely feel for you. But one of the things I was talking with Lori Dawn about is everything that Joe teaches follows a pattern. Like he said, there's no willy-nilly magical blah, blah, blah. One of the things I've realized is when Jehovah gives us the command to come to a feast, and he tells us when to come to the moed, that moed is an appointed time. He is not going to hide from us the way to discern when that appointed feast is. He's not going to say, come to a feast, but I'm not going to tell you when it is. Not exactly. I'll give you some clues, but if you don't make it on time, oh, well, too bad, so sad. He is also not going to, some of the ladies I was talking with was talking about how prophets give warnings, but we don't understand what those warnings mean until we're past the time of what the prophet was saying. So it's not for us to actually discern what the prophet is saying before it actually happens. It's only for us to look back in the rearview mirror so that we can understand it. Excuse me, what? What is the point of a warning if all you're going to do is look back in the rearview mirror and go, oh yeah, that's what he was talking about? No, the warning means do something now because something's about to happen. And if you keep going in the direction you're going in, something bad will happen.
It's like the blood moons after the fact. They're useless.
Exactly.
The
Yes.
blood moons after the fact are useless. So waiting until the end of days, because Yeshua will tell us what the right calendar is useless, because we won't be where we're supposed to be at the appointed time if we don't understand calendar.
Can you just hold 1 second? I just got to change my ear things.
Okay.
Say something, Sombra.
Say something, Sombra?
There we
Get
go.
a glass
Thank
of
you.
water. We don't want you to lose your voice. Keep hydrated. Get a glass of water.
No, it's not my voice, it's my ears. My earbuds were dying. So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm back.
So So one of the things I like about Joe's teaching is he teaches us the patterns, and then he shows us how the patterns are put in place in an orderly fashion everywhere. There's no willy-nilly, maybe what if God's going to whisk us away. No, God tells us what to do, and he tells us when to do it. The what to do and the when to do it follows the pattern that he's been showing us since the beginning. If we want to know how to make it through to the end, we need to know the beginning. And it's not good enough to say, oh, well, I kept the calendar that everybody else was keeping. Because that's still man's ways.
Let me bring Susan in here. Susan's had her hand up for a bit. Go ahead, Susan.
Hi. I was just thinking, isn't this exactly like you've been teaching us to do the Sabbath here? We know when we're supposed to do it because we've practiced and learned about the Jubilee years. And so we know when the Sabbath years are. So what are we doing this year? We are preparing for 2023. So wouldn't it be the same expectations as Sombra is saying for that time, where we will have some knowledge about how to do it. We'll get it from reading the scripture, and then we will prepare. We aren't going to make it all happen because Jehovah steps in after we begin to prepare for this. He steps in, gives us good gardens. He gives us knowledge to go by. He helps us prepare. And it's all about preparation. To me, it is anyway.
Okay, so let me ask, and I'll get Nancy up next. Let me ask everyone this question based on this. Where does it say we're to keep the 40 days of repentance?
40 days of repentance.
It doesn't.
No, why? No. But we've learned that from reading.
You've learned it from studying Torah. Where does it say we're to keep the 10 days of awe?
It doesn't say that. It's kind of an interpretation or
Okay. Yeah, but again, I'm pointing out, where does it tell you what the meaning of the day Feast of Trumpets is?
It doesn't. We learn it by practicing it, by rehearsing.
Where does it tell you what the meaning of the 8th day feast is?
Again, it's from reading Torah, from studying, from figuring what's going on. We just
from here a little, there a little, putting it together so that you do not leave scripture out and you do not add to scripture, but you take what scripture is showing you, the patterns, such as Way Sheaf Day, Shavuot, the Jubilee year, all these things give you a pattern to apply to the 8th day, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what we've been doing here.
And that's what we will probably do for the situation that Somber's trying to explain.
Yeah, so
most people, it's not a miracle thing. You go into the air and boom, you're over in the other place.
No, that's called the rapture Christian stinking thinking.
Yeah. We learn to listen to Jehovah, listen to Torah, read, learn, talk about it. And when the time comes, we'll be ready, just as we'll be ready next to Abib.
Well, everyone says they're going to be ready, but nobody is ready because most people aren't looking at the right thing. So what we have been blessed to be able to understand is the Jubilee cycles, which gives us an idea of where to be looking. And again, the timing, the middle of the Jubilee cycle, the midst of the week, when everything got shut down in 2020, that also gives us an advantage as to now we have a countdown to start working with. We also know what the altar is. We have all these things that all Christians don't have. Most Messianics don't have. And they won't be able to learn because they refuse to to study some of these things. Let me bring Nancy in here.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Joseph, I'm listening to the conversation. I had sort of this conversation about being taken to safety with my brother, who also came from Worldwide Church of God. He mentioned one time that Petra was looked at as the place
Yep.
of safety. And I don't know that any of us, I don't know what your vision, but I mean, I'd like to hear it. But I want to tell you also that I've had a reoccurring dream for a long time. And just like
Am I in it?
Excuse me?
Am I in your dream?
No.
Okay.
But it's not like any other real people, individuals. Basically, it could be different persons at different times, but I always end up really high and I don't know how to get back down. And a lot of times I'm on a building or some type of ledge. And last night was 3 stories high, and they said, okay, you can come down now. And I said, I can't even look over the edge. I can't climb down a ladder 3 stories. I can't even look over the edge. And I'm always there. And there'll be breaks in between it. The only other thing that happened in dreams last night was these boxes and this man saying this plastic is leaking into the food and water. And, that could have came from anywhere. But this ledge thing, this reoccurring thing about being up in some place that I don't want to come down from, I'm scared to come down from. I don't know if anyone else has had a dream like that or not.
The thing about dreams is they're unique to the people that have them.
Mhm.
And, to try and apply them to Torah is almost like impossible. So
Right.
you just got to treat them with, okay, that was nice. Again, I know it says that in the last days people have dreams and stuff like that. Yeah, I've had so many people's dreams that are just like, they don't make any sense. And people say, well, you got to do it. I said, no, I don't got to do anything. That was your dream. You do it.
Mm.
So to take a dream and make a Bible or make a Torah, I can't do that. So dreams I treat with very, great deal of kid gloves on them.
It just struck me when we were talking about going to the safe place. I'm like, wherever you're at, don't, stay where you're at. And then it says specifically over and over, those in Judea flee. And I think a lot of people think of that as, wherever they are in the city. Could that
Well,
represent all cities or
It
just Judea?
says Judea. So
Right.
Judea, that's, Jerusalem, right?
Right.
Or you could extend it to Israel, all 12 tribes. Again, that is extending it. That's not what it says. It says Judea. So we got to be careful how we read stuff and how we interpret it. Let me bring Eric in here, and then I'm going to address what Somber said there at the beginning. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you look at the plagues that were given in the first Passover, I'm kind of curious, at what point did Yahweh give to Moses, and then Moses to the people? They have to take the lamb on the 10th day of Nisan, bring it into the house, watch it for 5 days, and on the 14th day sacrifice and put the blood over the doorpost. And I'll come through, and anyone who doesn't have the blood will perish. How much did he give Moses the heads up, the warning? It doesn't seem like it was very far away. Could easily have been within a week. So it's almost like we're trying to get to something that he may not notify us until within a week of the occurrence happening.
Yeah, but they would have been knowing about Passover since the days of Noah, right? So the Passover, even Abraham kept Passover. So it's not like it was something new, but for some of them, it might have been new. They may have just been relearning it. Again, there's a lot of different things there, but what you're saying is the stuff that they had they may not have had a whole lot of time to figure it all out. So,
Right. But at that point, he prepared them to be ready to act on his word. As each one occurred, it built their faith up that his word was coming to pass, to where they finally got to the last one where that affected everyone, not just the Egyptians, but the entire nation.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we don't know yet. So let me address what, oh, Sarkis, go ahead.
Yeah, concerning the timing, my question is, as we're looking at the parents of Exodus, we're seeing Moses and Aaron as a type of two witnesses, because that's when they get to know then they're leaving Egypt. And I mean, how would you correlate that pattern versus, giving a warning in advance when to leave?
Well, okay, so we have the Exodus as a pattern. That pattern lines up with the 10 days of awe pretty accurately, and the 10 gods of Egypt pretty accurately. So that part there, but I think you're asking about the two witnesses and having two Moses and Aaron, or Elijah and Moses, to lead you, right? Am I gathering the right question?
No. What it is when we look at the book of Revelation, there are two witnesses, and that they show up when there's tribulation going on.
Yeah.
Okay. And in Egypt, the Israelites were in tribulation. They were being under hardship, slavery, and being bond people. The question here is, they didn't know they were leaving until Moses and Aaron showed up and saying, okay, Jehovah sent us. Moses saying, Jehovah sent me, and here he proves himself that he is the true messenger to get them out of Egypt. And so for us today, I'm just asking this out loud, this question. Do we have to wait for two witnesses to tell us time to move? Or we have to do it before?
I would say that the two witnesses don't show up. The two witnesses don't begin their work until after the tribulation of the saints, right? So there's the tribulation of the saints from the time the abomination set up until the two witnesses begins. That's 4 years or 3 years. That's what we're being shown in the scriptures. But it's also my position the two witnesses will be working and be doing a work long before they actually begin their actual job. Who they are, we can speculate, we can guess, but we won't know for sure. But we're also given a lot of scriptures. We're told that there's going to be a second greater Exodus. We know that. Okay, that's in Jeremiah and Isaiah 11:11. And so if there's a second greater Exodus, and Israel's brought back a second time, then that also tells you that there has to be a second greater captivity to precede that Exodus. Now, it doesn't exactly say that, but that is just a normal conclusion. You can't come out of poverty or slavery until you've at least gone into it. And we haven't gone into that yet. So these are things that we have to look at and understand, just from basing our knowledge on the scriptures alone and just making rational conclusions. There's a number of other things that I cannot share with you right now, because it could put them in jeopardy, because I do have people here that do not like me, and I do have enemies that do follow me around and waiting for me to trip up so they can pounce. So I do not tell you everything that I know. and I'm not about to today. But I have shared some things with the executive team, and I've made them promise to keep quiet. The saying of loose lips sink ships, and that applies here. There's a number of other things that is going on that are absolutely stunning. Now, they have not fully been come to a completion yet, but when they do, and then I can tell you, I will. But I do want you to know there's other things going on here that I'm not at liberty yet to say. What's been happening to me in the Philippines, the open door, it's so wide open. I cannot get people to let me come and speak to them here in North America. But in the Philippines, I can, and I don't even have to belong to the same faith. But because I don't keep the conjunction moon, or I don't believe in saying Yahweh versus Jehovah, therefore I'm not going to be allowed to speak to certain groups. That's not the case in the Philippines. The door is so wide open. Like, I mean, it's so wide open. And then that tells me something again in Revelation, which is, everyone keeps asking, so why don't we go to Revelation? Let me pull that up. I'll share my screen so you can all see it. Again, forgive me for sucking on this candy so I can talk to you. And I'm going to Revelation chapter 3. Go to the English. And we're going to go to the Church of Philadelphia. Now, everyone thinks of the Church of Philadelphia, but there's certain things in here that jump out at me that didn't jump out at me when I was in the Worldwide Church of God, or when I'm in the Protestant church or Anglican or whatever one that I think I'm in that this applies to. And to the angel of the Church of Philadelphia, right? He who is holy, he who is true, he who has the key of David, he who opens and no one shuts, and shuts and no one opens, says these things. So who opens? So this door in the Philippines is open, and it's wide open. Verse 6 or verse 8, I mean, I know your works. Behold, I've given before you an open door, and no one can shut it. So I read that. I believe it's talking about what I'm doing down there. So I'm charging through these doors. I'm not afraid to go through them. Yes, I know that everybody listening to me at this arena is against me and doesn't believe anything. I'm not afraid. I'm charging through there. But you have little strength, and we have very little strength, and have kept my word and have not denied my name. So since the 2016 book, I made a promise to never deny his name. Is this talking about what we're doing? I don't know, but I'm checking off all those things that I'm doing that seem to line up. So in every one of my books, I use the name of Jehovah. Behold, I give out to those of the synagogue of Satan, those saying themselves to be Jews and are not. Now, this is not talking about Judah. It's not talking about the Jews in Israel. It's talking about the Samaritans who pretend to be Jewish when everything is good. But when everything gets bad and the Jews are being persecuted, they all of a sudden become Samaritans again. So who's that today? That's the tares, the Darnell. When you can pretend to be Jewish and have all these fun events going on, wearing your kippah, wearing your tzitzit, and everything's peachy keen, and you're keeping the Feast of Sukkot in Jerusalem, then they're Jewish. But as soon as the persecution comes, as soon as the hard times come, they will disappear and they'll become Gentiles again. So how many of us will this apply to? We all need to think about that. Behold, I will make them come and worship before your feet, to know that I have loved you. Because you have kept my word of my patience, I will also keep you from the hour of temptation, which will come upon the habitable world, to try those who dwell upon the earth. We are now about to enter into that time. Behold, I come quickly. Hold fast that which you have, so that no man may take your crown. Hang on to what you've learned. Do not mix it with other stuff. Him who overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he will not go out no more. And I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of my city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which comes down from heaven from my God and my new name. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says, not to this church, but to all the churches. So you got to read all the churches to listen to what's being spoken. And that's something that, we do quite often. We talk about a number of the different things in different churches and expand on them and show you the sins that they were involved in. So if this is talking about us, is he going to keep us from the hour of temptation? He says he will. Again, coming back to what Sombra's asking, do we just stay and just wait for that magic school bus to come down the road and whisk us away? Yeah, the wheels on the bus go round and round, and I'm going to get on when it comes to my town. No, you have to do something. You don't like my singing, do you, Sombra? There's too many Christians who's, just everything's going to happen to them is going to be because God's blessed them. But when the bad stuff happens, it's not because they're sinning. It's because God fell asleep for a moment. We can't have that Christian attitude. We got to start obeying God. And when he says to go, you got to be ready to go. So I'm showing you all these things. You have to decide if what I'm showing you is the truth. You have to decide. And whatever that decision is, you're going to have to live with one way or the other. In my personal life, Jehovah's making things happen so that I can't deny what I'm supposed to do next. So I will be doing those things in according to the doors that are open to me. The doors here in North America seem to be closed. I have called all the churches of God that I can. I've called all the Messianic teachers that I can. I've been trying to share with them when the middle of the Jubilee cycle is, when the countdown to the abomination is, and nobody wants to hear it. But the Christians, the ones that don't understand in the Philippines, they are wanting to hear this message. They don't understand it, but they want to hear it. I don't understand what is going on, but I'm doing what I'm able to do. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have the word temptation that he's going to tempt the world. I have he will test the world is what I have in my version.
Okay, that's just different versions. If we were to go and examine the word in the Greek and drill down on it, we could probably find the true meaning. It doesn't matter. We can sort that out. The thing is, what are we going to do? Right? So I've been going through Isaiah and showing how I believe it's the Philippines that is going to rescue us. I see the government getting involved. I not only see it, I know it because I'm talking to them. So they are getting involved in getting ready. They have different reasons for doing it, but they're still doing it. There's a lot of things going on. Again, I can't tell you all the details. Kurt.
Yes. Okay. So we're talking about timing here. I think Matthew, when you're talking about the abomination of desolation, right?
Do you want to go there and read it?
Yeah, it applies. This is the time to read it.
Okay.
For sure.
24, Matthew.
Starting.
Where Matthew 24. I think it's 15.
15.
Yeah.
It starts earlier, but that's the place to start for sure.
Well, let's start earlier then. Let's start in verse 8.
How far do you want to go?
Yeah, I know we want to start at the beginning.
8 is probably
okay.
Sure.
All these things are the beginning of sorrows. Then they will deliver you up to be afflicted. Oh, there's that persecution part that I was talking about. And will kill you. There's the martyrdom of the saints who are underneath the altar in Revelation 6, verse 10, I think it is. And you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. I can tell you firsthand how true that is. And then many will be offended and will betray one another and will hate one another. That is now talking about the brethren. You're going to get your nose out of joint because I say something, or you disagree, or you agree and someone else disagrees with you. And you will be offended and will betray one another. Are you going to turn each other in? Will you sacrifice your kids to protect the brethren? Will you not do that and give up the brethren? These are questions you got to start thinking about. We are at that time when this is getting ready to happen. And many false prophets will rise and deceive many. I'm ready to fight this false prophet in the Philippines. There's another one in Ukraine. There's another one in South Korea. They're already here. Christ is already here in about a dozen different people. One in Scotland too, I think. And many false prophets will arise and deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many will become cold. I know how much love many of you have for each other. But how is that love going to stand up here in the future? And this gospel of the kingdom shall be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end shall come. So what is the gospel? There, we break that down. That's something that needs to be answered. Verse 15, therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. So we have been talking about that today.
Yep.
It's the countdown starts from the middle of the Jubilee cycle when the altar is now known to be the Golgotha, and the praise of our lips was stopped in 2020, starting on March 11th. Then
That moment is that's the marker. That's what we're looking for.
That is the marker.
And then
that is so undeniable. Everybody, no matter what religion, knows that happened. They just may not realize it was March 11th. They may not realize that that was Passover, but they do know that it happened around March in 2020.
And then it goes on, right?
What? Keep reading here, Kurt.
16, yeah.
Then let those in Judea flee. That's not those in Saskatchewan. That's
You think
those in
that's specific to Judea?
Kurt, what does the word Judea say there? Look it up.
Well, I
can look it
did,
up.
and it does say a Roman province.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Judea, the Roman province, is Jerusalem area, right?
Yeah, it's
Those in Judea,
I did look it up
Iodea,
here.
southern part of the country below Samaria. So that's, what is Jerusalem, or the Jewish Benjamin territories, right?
Yeah. So
Palestine, Judah.
if that's specific to that geographical area, then we don't have to worry about fleeing when we see that.
Oh, you most certainly do.
But
So stop. Let's just analyze that. Okay. Geopolitically, what's going on in the world right now? We've got Iran giving drones to Russia. We've got Russia, the Great Bear, on its heels, being pushed back by a bunch of Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are now attacking the bridge that goes over to Crimea. They're not going to settle for just taking back the recent territory. They're going to take back everything that was taken even back in 2014. But then it also says there's rumors coming out of the east and the north in Revelation. That's talking about Russia and China. Russia is also talking about going nuclear to fight back the Ukrainians. That means they might think about chopping off the head of Zelensky himself. One nuclear strike there and the head's cut off. But now you just open up a whole new can of worms, right? And we're now gone into World War III.
Well, my question here is, who is backing, who's pushing, who's the body behind the head? If Ukraine is the head, who's the body behind it?
Well, I'm just saying the head would be Zelensky for Ukraine. but the body behind that is the NATO, which is not, Zelensky is not the head.
No.
And behind Zelensky is also the United States, which is part of NATO. And
Yes.
none of them are the head, except the Americans might be the head,
Right.
right? So this scenario gets really complicated, real messy. Iran's got the nuclears. They've been saying they're going to be ready for nukes in a month. They've been saying that for 3 years, so they got to be ready now. China is, President Xi is now going to get another 5 years, extending his current term in office, again, longer than what is expected. He's also pushing hard for Taiwan. He's also pushing hard in the entire Pacific area. And they're building big aircraft carriers that are unbelievable in size. There's so many things that are ready to play out here. And we're looking for something to trip it off. What is that trip off?
Can I add one thing to your geopolitical situation?
Yep.
I just got knowledge today came to me, or an email came to me today. There was a missile intercepted over the Yukon on Thursday.
Okay, so did anybody check that information about a reliable source?
I haven't verified that as of yet. That's not coming from, that's coming from a reliable source that we, as in myself, and I know Joe and various, I'm not going to use the name right here, but we all regard this person.
He has recanted.
Who?
Your reliable source.
Your reliable source has recanted.
So anyway, we need to double check all these sources before we start posting them and sharing
them. Well, this source is somebody that if I would hope that he'll send another message to me. Okay, well, that's interesting. If it's not true, then that's fine. But interesting.
So again, a reputable source will be BBC News or CBC News, and or CNN. CNN, they got bogus stories, but they also report the news.
True.
Right? They don't make up, international incidents like that. They will stage a picture scene, but the news will be the news. Every news channel will have that on it, not just one isolated source that nobody listens to. So I forgot where I was going. Oh, the red heifer. This is now a possibility. The red heifer they have there right now they're not a year old yet, as far as I understand. And they do not have to be 3 years old. They just have to be over 1. So that means that they can be sacrificed anytime after next Passover, I think. If the abomination is going to be set up, it's done on the 6th day of the 10 days of awe. And the 6 days of the 10 days of awe, that would be the Friday, which means that you got Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday would be the 10th day of, that I'm thinking crescent moon standard. If I go with the Hillel calendar, that puts it even a day or two earlier. That means if they did it on the 6th, September 22nd, that would be a day or two before atonement next year, which is what they need the red heifer for in the first place. So that's another good reason to watch for that. There's just a lot of things going on right now in the world that are giving me cause, inflation, food, famine, interest rates, stock market crashing. All these things are happening at the same time. Okay, so unless you want God to come down and tell you, hey, it's time to go, you need to be watching yourself and starting to make up your own mind and get ready. If something happens in Jerusalem next year, the abomination is set up. I believe I'm gonna try and be there. I think Randy might be there with me. We're the only ones who are actually looking for it. And we're also the only ones who actually know where the altar is. And the holy place will be that red heifer offering site. So if the Catholic Church puts up a statue on that piece of property just outside their gate, that would be an abomination at the holy site. Again, we're looking, no one else is. So if you're not looking, then you won't see it. Starkey.
Questions. One of them is if the countries that we're supposed to move to, like Philippines, don't have permits, visa permits more than 3 months or 6 months, how can you move there and stay there for a long time? Because a lot of countries, they give you temporary visas, but not residency visa.
Yeah.
That's a question one. The second question is, in terms of fleeing from Judea to the mountains, that it was specific to the time when the temple was being destroyed. The city and the temple was destroyed 70 AD. We know.
Hang on, no, hang on. Before you say that categorically as if that was already happened. Is it?
Well, let me answer that. Hold on. Because what happened, right? After that event that you mentioned, when the Nazarene were gathering together in Jerusalem, they got the message they need to leave. Within a few months, the criminals took over the city. I mean, Simon and the other gangs took over the city and persecuted everybody there.
Did he take over in 66 or was that more towards 70?
No, he took it around 66, 67. And they had civil war inside for over 3 years before the Romans destroyed the city.
Well, I do know that they killed, the Romans were really disappointed because there wasn't enough Jews to kill because they killed themselves in their fighting. Yeah. So, okay, I didn't know that was 66, so that's interesting.
Yeah, that was 66. They had only a few months warning to leave. And those who stayed behind to do their business and close up the shop before they left, they got caught behind and left behind because they didn't leave at the time they were warned. And it's the same thing that happened with the Armenian massacre in Turkey.
That was also a dream.
No, there's a prophet came and told them as time is going to come persecution, and his name is Boy Prophet. And within a year, he said, you got to get ready to leave. And he says, when I come, better leave. And many of them did not. They were all massacred. Yep. And those who left survived. And so that's a historical example from my ethnicity. But on the other hand, you got to have a direction where you're going. And what you're proposing, and based on what you understand, I agree with you that, Philippines is one of them. The question is, are they ready to allow people to come? That's a huge question because many countries don't.
Yeah. So to answer that question, I am talking with politicians and they are listening. And I was again on the 700 Club and they are listening. So I do not think that's going to be a problem. And again, there's a certain number of things I have to get that need to be set up here first. But we're working on it.
Okay. The third question is abomination that makes it desolate in terms of the red heifer. If they're offering the sacrifice on the wrong site, is that an abomination?
That's what I believe it is. But again, so the abomination itself, there's a part of me that's saying, are we talking about two different abominations? Or is this all one in the same? If it's all one in the same, then the red heifer doesn't qualify because it's the statue's got to speak. So that disqualifies the red heifer one. If it's two, then the red heifer could be one, which I'm suspecting it might be in relation to Isaiah 66. The other one is the abomination itself. They could both be connected, but I haven't connected that dot yet. So
Could
I'm
it
still, sorry?
could it be a setting stage for the statue?
Yes.
That and that I would agree with that. That's most likely because that's the culture in that area. That's how they do. They set it up to bring someone.
Okay, so again, now I'm just speculating. So I'm speculating with you, and that's because I thought, is this a lead up to the other? Or how are they connected? I don't know, but if possible, even the elect are going to be deceived. How would you deceive the elect? It's got to look like the real deal, like the real, the real Jewish Messiah, Ben David. Who are the elect? All 12 tribes. That includes Judah. How are you going to deceive the Jews with a Christian Messiah? You're not. But what if you deceive them with a Jewish Messiah?
Okay. Can I add to that a little bit?
Okay.
Okay. What happened when Moses went up to get the 10 Commandments? They said he stayed too long there, and they built the golden calf.
Yeah.
It's the same story here, where if we're looking at the pattern, where people are expecting for the rapture, for the return of the Messiah, and nothing happens, they're setting the stage for that exactly. Because right now people are saying, if we're going to go through tribulation and we're not raptured, they're wide open for deception.
But he's also going to make fire come down from heaven. So
that's part of the beast and making all these miracles, doing all these miracles,
but if you were to make that come down on, say, Los Angeles and destroy that gay city, then you'd be just doing Sodom and Gomorrah all over again. And of course, that would be perfectly in line. That everyone's deceived and following the wrong guy. I don't know how it's going to happen, but there's a lot of different things here to be watching, and we just got to be ready. We got to start getting ready.
Well, what about it's 40 days and 40 jubilees from the time of the destruction of the temple? We are right there, 40 jubilees.
No, we're not.
Yeah, add 70 times plus 1960 is 230. We're a few years from there. 2030.
40. Hang on. 40. I don't have anything with me here. I got nothing.
That's okay. You take each jubilee is 980.
Yeah.
Times 2 is 1960. Plus 70, it's 2030. Forty days.
So you're going 40 jubilees from the destruction of the temple. Why would you pick destruction of the temple? Just because it fits?
That was a sign. That was a sign that they were. Remember, it's 40 years from the time of the Messiah's death. The temple was destroyed. That's if we're taking.
Okay, so hang on, just be quiet for a minute. I got to think now, because now you're tripping me up. So you're saying 40 days from the time that Yeshua was killed, 40 years from the time Yeshua was killed till the temple is destroyed. So now you're going from the time the temple is destroyed, going 40 Jubilee cycles. And you're getting what's being destroyed.
2030, it's when the two witnesses are killed and the wrath of God starts to pour, 3.5 years.
Can we do it on the chart here?
Sure.
We're going from what date?
70 or 31.
Okay. So I accelerated here. So let me backtrack a little bit. If we're looking at the pattern, what happened in Exodus, they were to be in the desert for 40 years because they disobeyed, they didn't believe in Jehovah. And those who didn't believe 20 years and up, they died in the desert, in the wilderness, before they entered the land.
Okay,
And so you have 40 years
40 Shana.
for people to repent before the destruction of the city and the temple that Yeshua prophesied that it will happen. And they were dispersed. Now you have 40 jubilees for them to come back.
okay, hold on a sec. Let's go 40 jubilees from there. So from the first jubilee to the 40th jubilee.
No,
there's-
no, you're doing, that's not what he's saying, Somber. He's just using the 40 years as a reckoning. Go back to 31 AD,
Okay,
right there. So from 31 AD, 40 years later brings you to 70. Right?
okay,
So that's a 40-year testing, and during that 40 years, the white ribbon on the goat never turned, or the red ribbon never turned white.
okay.
Right? So now he's taken that 40 years and he's turned it from say again.
From
They're
years to
exi-
jubilees?
Now they're
40
exiled, and then 40 jubilees later they come back.
So
Okay,
40
so we go from 29 jubilees plus
no,
40
no,
is,
no, go back. He's going not from 29, he's going from 30.
from
And in the
30.
30th, he's got not just going from 30, he's going from 70 AD.
Okay, so then he's going, so from 30 to 70 jubilees up here. And so then he's talking about this spot right here? No, this
2030.
spot right here,
Yes.
No, the fifth cycle.
the fifth
This
cycle?
cycle, 2030.
Yeah.
I'm just following your pattern, Joe.
No, I know. See, that's why I didn't put all down here. I left some for you guys to figure out.
We're trying to be good students here.
No, I like what you're saying, Sarkis. It's
So he's saying 40 jubilees to come back to the land to start the process.
well, see, Israel was brought back to land in 2030. The two witnesses will bring all of Israel back to the land in 2030,
Exactly.
or before 2030.
So it's not about 1948.
No, 1948 was another sign.
It's a different thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the 62nd week.
And there's also 40 years before 2033, which brings you back to 83, 84.
1980,
He left.
83, this one?
Well, 84.
84.
And that's when a lot of the teachers I mentioned in the book started to be awakened. Again, that's the latter rains, right? So
Yep.
50 days probably before Passover or after Passover.
Yep.
There's so much patterns here. It just makes my head hurt.
And that's why you have to write it down. That's why this is not a secret chart. This is just a recording of everything that is public, and it is arranged in a way that we can track things.
Yeah, so in the next book, we have I've edited it. Eileen is going through it. Lori Dawn, I think, might be going through it. I'm not sure. She's very busy right now. And all these things are written down there pretty much. I think I have to rearrange some stuff. And I have to cut out the governor house. The governor house, I think, is a false lead. And that's just the United Nations. It's on the Mount of Evil Council, which is really just another false flag to get you sidetracked. So I'm gonna need to excuse myself a little bit earlier than most today. So we're still talking about the red heifer. I don't think is there some parts I've left out? Eric's got his hand up. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I read Daniel and I see the abomination to make desolate, I see it associated with the daily sacrifice. Why do you think it's going to be? And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, why do you associate it with the red heifer?
Well, no. So the Daniel 9:27, what you're saying is a daily sacrifice. That is the prayers and offerings of our lips, correct?
Well, no. I'm in Daniel 12:11. It says, and from the time that the daily sacrifice is taken away and the abomination of desolation is set up, there shall be 1,290 days.
Okay.
Blessed is he who waits and comes to the 1,335 days. So I see the abomination here being associated with the daily sacrifice. Are you saying it's
Okay, so
also
what is the daily sacrifice?
the lambs?
The what?
The lambs, morning
Okay,
and
so-
evening.
Okay, so what is that?
Well, to me, that's one of the things that they want to start up as soon as possible is those daily sacrifices.
No. Go back and read Hosea 14:2.
So you don't think it's literally the daily sacrifices?
Well, okay, so now, but just hang on, hold on to that question, but you're gonna
Okay.
answer this yourself.
Okay.
Okay, so now go back and read Daniel 9:27. Not the first line, read the second line.
All right. So Daniel 9:27. Hold on. I mean, you said Hosea 9:27, right?
No, I said Daniel 9:20. We
Oh,
went to
Daniel.
Hosea, now we're back to Hosea, Daniel. We're
Daniel.
jumping around.
Okay, Daniel 9:27. Let's see here. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle
Skip
of the
that
week.
one.
Oh, okay.
The second line in that same verse though.
Okay, he shall bring an end to the sacrifice, and on the wings of abomination
No,
shall
hang on.
be.
You jumped, okay, let me pull it up here for you. You're jumping away from me.
Oh, but in the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to the sacrifices and offering.
There you go.
Okay.
So let me just pull it up here so we can see what we're talking about. Daniel 9,
Right.
27. Okay, and in the midst of the week, so we're gonna, come on. What are you doing here?
To sacrifice and offering is what you're zeroing in on.
Yeah, you see my highlighted area?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, in the midst of the week. So when's the middle of the week?
Well, it'd be 3.5 years.
No, okay, so what's the word week?
I'm thinking it's 7 years.
Okay,
Or
so
is it-
so basically, Eric, you're still stuck in your Christian thinking.
Well, I guess it'd be that, or it could be the 7 years of sabbatical years, or yeah.
Okay,
like,
so. let's
49
just-
years. 49
let's-
years.
Okay, so you're guessing the right answer, but I just want you to know why you're saying that. So
Right.
Daniel 9, here's the word week. Okay.
Right.
And the word week is, it's where, whoops. 7.
Yeah, it's the Shemitah cycles or the Yovel cycles.
7620 or 7620, 7620. There it is, as in 7 days, a week. That is
Right.
a wrong translate. There is a word there, Shabua. See the word Shabua
Shabua.
there?
Right.
You see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep
So I
going
just
down.
want,
Keep going
I
down,
just-
Joe.
keep going down where?
Keep going down. Brown driver's brakes.
There you go.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, Shabua. So what is a Shabua? Okay, so now here's all the places where that same word is used.
Right.
So just for the sake of argument, let's just go to this one because I know this one's got my answer in it. And thou shalt observe the feast of weeks, Shabua,
Right.
of first fruits. What's that?
You're talking about the counting of the Omer.
That's right. So, okay, so what's another way of counting the Omer?
7 Sabbaths.
7 Sabbaths, and that is a 49-day period, right?
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's, you shall observe the Feast of Weeks. So what Daniel's being told here is, or what Daniel's telling you is, that you're to count 7 for 70 49s.
Right.
So that's where we get 3,430 years from instead of the 490 year stuff. So here in verse 27, we're reading, and in the midst of the Shabbat.
Okay.
So what does that tell you when it says in the middle of the Shabbat?
The 49 years.
Right. So in the middle of the 49. So which Shabbat are we talking about here now? We're talking about the 70th Shabbat. Sombra, I'm going to get out. You put that chart back up for me. The Jubilee cycles. Thank you. So again, Eric, he's talking about the
Yeah.
70th Jubilee cycle.
Right.
That's the one we got here. So in the middle of it, right, is
Mhm.
2020. You see that?
Yeah, I see it. I see it.
Okay. Okay. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And I'm not trying to make fun of you at all, Eric. So I want you to understand this. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Somber, get out. Okay. I'm going to go back in. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. So, Eric, you now know that 2020 was the middle of the week, the middle
Right.
of that
And he shut
Shabbat,
he basically shut down all the synagogues and the churches. Right.
everything around the world. So,
Right.
where's the oblation and sacrifice in that?
Well, the praises and the worship and all that.
The bullocks of your lips. That's where Hosea 14:2 comes in.
Right.
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 Okay. So now, if we understand this correctly, and that is correct, 2020, that took place on March 11th. Now we're going to go to Daniel 12 and go to verse 11. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away. When was that, Eric?
2020.
March 11, 2020.
Okay.
And the abomination that makes desolate set up. So now you're to count 1,290 days from, you can either use March 11th or you can use March 17th or sometime in March. We don't know exactly for sure yet. We
Right.
will know when we see this.
Right.
1,290 days from that time brings you to, if it's March 11, we're going to start from, because that was the day we kept Passover. That was the day who announced the shutting down of the whole world.
Right.
That brings you September 22nd, 2023.
Do you want me to show it?
What do you got?
With a chart.
Okay, go ahead.
So that brings you to September 22nd, which would be around Yom Teruah in 2023. So it's the
Let
end.
me-
End.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Let me show you my slides, my
Okay.
PowerPoint.
So would that make next year this coming year a leap year, would it, Joseph?
It's still a leap year. It doesn't matter anything about what we're saying. It still makes it a leap year. Okay, let me go in here and what am I doing? There. This one or that one? I'll try that one. Yeah, okay. So you guys can see my slides, right? Sombra, I'm looking at you, yes?
Yep. Yeah, I see your slides.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Eric, you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's 2020. There's March 11, 2020. And I just started counting every month, starting at, so March 11th, so leaves 20 days left in March. That's why it's only got 20, right?
Okay.
So then I went 2021, 365 days.
Okay.
2022, 365 days. in 2023, I only needed 265 days, which brought me to September 22nd. And that all totaled up to 1,290 days total from that time period. And this brings us to, if you look in this chart, how's that chart look to you guys? Can you see it?
It's
It's
too small on
small.
mine.
Pretty
Yeah, it's real small on mine.
How about now?
Yeah, a little better. Yeah.
We can't
I'm
see the
looking at-
words. We can see when Sukkot is, but we can't see the small words.
Play from current view slide. How about now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so September 22nd, you see my mouse here?
Yeah.
That's a Friday. And 22nd is the actual day. It begins the night before. So that would be the day. Now, can somebody quickly look up next year? When is the Yom Kippur next year?
On Hillel calendar?
No, yes, on Hillel, that's right. I believe that'll be possibly on the Sunday.
You mean
September-
the 8th or the 9th? The 8th.
Which would be the 8th. This is Torah calendar. It's using the crescent moon. So the 8th is according to the crescent moon.
So Yom Kippur 2023 on Hillel calendar is Sunday, September 24th to September 25th, Monday.
Perfect. So they will not kill the red heifer offering on Shabbat. They could kill it on the Friday. Right? They want the ashes for
Right.
the Day of Atonement. So again, I'm speculating, I'm not sure, but if they do that in the wrong place, it becomes an abomination. That's what I was trying to show you today. So that's, but again, so it's, Matthew goes on to tell you that it's going to be a trial where to flee. But if we continue, let me get out of, oops. If we continue there, Daniel 8 now tells you when the atonement or the vindication of the saints will take place. That is in 2026, when the two witnesses come on the scene. There's just a lot of moving parts here, trying to put it all together and to make it make sense. And I think, we've got the best understandings thus far. Rico did a teaching on this right away. I have not had time to listen to it and see what he has to say about the red heifer. But Rico is if I want to learn anything about the temple, Rico is one of the people I go to. James is another one. But Rico's pretty good. But you also got to understand, he's rabbinic.
Joe, can I make one comment here about the ashes?
Yeah.
Knowing what I know about masonry and things, the ashes, I suspect, or I believe that the ashes would have to be used fairly quickly after the sacrifice is burnt, in order to
That's
have
so.
any effect, because ashes, they'll be perfectly dry, right? They'll take on moisture out of the air rather quickly, and they won't have the same cleansing effect.
Well, since Moses, so I'm going to disagree with you, Kurt, because since
Okay.
Moses, there have only been 9 red heifer offerings. So they would not have used those ashes right away. They would have stored them. They were supposed to be put in an earthen jar and stored. And they would use the ashes to purify the water to sprinkle anybody that got touched a dead body. So this is going to be the 10th one.
Would they store the ashes, or would they store the water that's been affected?
They would have.
Like,
They would have
you're
stored
making lye, right? When you burn ashes and you add water to it, you essentially get lye.
Well, it's just be like a cremation urn full of
Right,
ashes.
but those ashes would lose their reactivity if they're left exposed to air.
Well, the scriptures don't say anything about their reactivity.
Well, I'm just thinking
If
about
you're
this.
sprinkling lye on human beings, they're going to get burnt, not cleansed.
Well, I don't know. I'm just trying to say what I know about these things, right? Because I use calcium oxide, and I know how it reacts with the air. It pulls it pulls moisture right out of the atmosphere and it makes it non-reactive. It doesn't work. So I suspect the ashes are exactly the same. And that's what I'm trying to just
they use
throw out there, right?
They used it over a number of years, because they didn't burn a red heifer every year. And they still had people dying for many years after the red heifer was initially sacrificed. So they would have to be able to use it. And it says you're to store the ashes. The guys that does it is to store the ashes in an urn in a clean place.
If it's earthenware, wouldn't that absorb any moisture? Because it's porous?
Possible.
Yeah, there's a lot of mysteries about the red heifer that we don't understand. It just goes by faith. Michelle, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, when you say that they're going to institute sacrifices and the altar might in a
Hang on.
wrong
Hey,
place.
whoa, back up. I did not say they're going to institute sacrifices.
Okay, I meant sprinkle the ashes on an altar that might not be in the right place.
Yeah.
How does that relate to the Daniel prophecy when it says the abomination is set up in the holy place?
So what's the holy place?
Well, on earth, it would have been the Holy of Holies.
No, it's not. What is the holy place?
So you're talking spiritually the temple of our bodies?
I'm asking you a question. What
I don't
is
know. I'm just saying the earthly place. I don't know. I'm asking
Okay.
you.
So
Michelle wasn't here for all the pictures. She just got in. So
okay.
yeah, we've
So
already been through it, Michelle.
I'm sorry.
The Golgotha is the altar. The red heifer site is on Golgotha. The sin offering site is on Golgotha. Yeshua was killed near the red heifer site. So let me see if I got that picture handy. Yep. So this is the Jewish compound on the Mount of Offense right now on Golgotha. And this little piece of property that they did not touch here, that is a potential red heifer site. And just to the left of this picture is where Yeshua was killed. So if they kill it, even if they kill it in the compound here where the cars are parked, that would be close to the red heifer site. And it could qualify as being legit. But they don't believe this is where the temple was across here at the city of David. They believe it's at the Alaska Mosque. Therefore, they're going to kill the red heifer site at the top of the Mount of Olives amongst all the dead. And, you know, that would be an abomination. So we're speculating right now. We don't know for sure. We do know where the holy place is because beneath the place where Yeshua was killed is the Ark of the Covenant. Wherever the Ark of the Covenant is, that would be the most holy place. And
Okay, thank you.
That's what I'm still believing. And it says on the corner of the altar, so if the Catholic Church there that owns this property sets up a statue of Mary next year or Jesus there, then that would be the abomination. My problem with that is how does that work when the Islam is taken over? I don't understand it. So I'm just still watching.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And, you know, we're trying to rationalize a lot of different things that are happening on the world scene and put them together according to prophetic understanding and the Jubilee cycles. I think we're the only ones doing that, which makes us unique. We've got 2020 right. We got it deadly right. Which makes us now start to look, are we going to have the 1290 right? And if we got that right, the 2300 is the next one. Where the 1335 comes in, I still believe is the resurrection of the saints, but the starting of the The starting point for that count has now got me baffled. I don't know where that will be. Again, I thought these were all sequential a few years ago. Now I'm not seeing them as sequential. I just see them as different places because we got two of those numbers starting at the same point. So again, I'm learning as we go and adjusting. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, Joe, just something that may or may not. Reading Ruth was out of the country for 10 years. And she believed her name was not Naomi. Sorry, Naomi was out of the country for 10 years. And she believed her name when she came back to be Mara. Because she was bitter. She's had bitterness of losing her 3 sons, or 2 sons and a husband. Now, 10 years, 10 days of awe. Just a question, when did Naomi, when was she out of the land on the calendar? I don't know. I had a look, I couldn't find something, but it's the next part that really amazed me, that Ruth was collecting barley, as in green ears of corn, and roasting them. And that's, they came back at Passover. And I just reading that, and I was just wondering when Ruth and Naomi came back into Bethlehem area, and the time slot for that, does it line up with anything that we have?
I don't know, Paul. I've never looked at Ruth or those 10 years in anything. So I was waiting for you to drop a new bomb on me, but now you're just throwing me a question. So,
well, I was trying to work it out. Looking beforehand at the judges and seeing what their line was there, and how it was just before David, because Obed was born, and so on. So it's just in there somewhere, but I don't know the exact time slot. So I'm just putting it out there for somebody. Maybe they come up with something, but it might be something that lines up with the calendars that we've got as another.
Well, if you look at what Sarkis is doing, Sarkis is taking different patterns and applying them and seeing what he finds out. And he's come up with a couple good ones. And so, that's what we all can do. You have the Jubilee cycles, you all understand them now. You can start putting these patterns in there and seeing what you come up with. The Ruth one, I've never looked at. So, make that your homework assignment and see if you can figure something out. I've not looked at it.
It's just that when they harvested the wheat, they harvested at green ears. Or the
Not
barley.
the wheat, the barley, yeah.
Barley, yes. But a question came to my mind, and it's been brought up here. We do it when we harvest the barley when it's dry.
No.
Yeah, we use harvesters here.
Oh, today.
That's when I
modern
go.
stuff.
That's and he was twisting what how you should do it back with the sickle compared to a harvester, and he said, "Well, I don't believe that and that and that." So he's
We've
not-
actually shown pictures of barley that was modern barley that was still out there long after the wheat had come and been harvested as well. And that barley was a planted field. The heads still hadn't shed their seed yet, because it's developed not to break open so that the harvester can use it. So that's why we don't use domesticated barley as our judging point.
I understand that.
So we
But
use
he
wild
couldn't-
barley,
he
which
couldn't
still
see that.
shatters on its own. Pardon me?
Yeah. The gentleman that was bringing this up couldn't see that, so he was being confused. But the
Yeah.
other thing that come into play is if they harvest it with the sickle when the barley was dry, it would fall to the ground. It's losing the saints, you might say. If it's meant to be the saints, we're being lost. And we've got to be ready to be harvested at the right time.
Well, you read in Revelation that there's an angel going to be coming to do that very soon, taking both
Yep.
the wheat and the tares.
Yeah, that was the
Um,
thing that clacked onto me. And you know, you can't can't harvest it late. It's got to be right on time.
That's right. Let me bring Sarkis in here and then I gotta head out here because I'm at my sister's place, so I gotta leave early. Sarkis, go ahead.
Joe, it's good to see you back.
Hope I don't keep you longer. I don't think you should give up on the Messianic movement right now, or the Hebraic Ruth, because I think they're coming closer to your conclusion that they need to pay attention to the sabbatical jubilee cycles, and the impact of understanding the calendar.
I'm talking to you guys. I'm not, I still have I'll explain to you my plan here. I'm not really giving up on them. I am still trying to get to them. So I get depressed sometimes.
Yeah, but let me encourage you. You start on something, and I think if you start connecting the Yom Kippur to sabbatical and Jubilee years cycles, that will bring a breakthrough. Because one of the things.
Whoa, back up. Yom Kippur to sabbatical Jubilee. What are you talking about?
When do you do the year of release? On Yom Kippur?
No, you do the year of release.
Yes, sir.
No, you do. No, you don't. Hang on, what's your
look
release?
at Leviticus 26 Jubilee.
You do it on the first day of Sukkot.
No, on Yom Kippur. Pull up Leviticus 25.
That's in a Jubilee year.
Jubilee year. It's
In
a
a Jubilee
pattern for it's a pattern set up for sabbatical year as well. It's to release on Yom Kippur. That's why Isaiah 58 talks about what? It's about taking care of your people, the poor, the elderly, the widows, the homeless, the stranger. That it's all related to Yom Kippur, and it's related to sabbatical and Jubilee years that we don't keep, and we've never kept. It's so when you start looking at that, it's all connected.
Okay,
And you started this path, and I'm like looking at, yeah, Joe, this is connection. You're connecting sabbatical and Jubilee to it. And so let me add one more thing.
No, hang on, just wait, back up. You just connected Isaiah 58 with Yom Kippur in a sabbatical year.
And Jubilee, because what happened in
Okay,
Jeremiah?
I've never done that.
Well, they're all there.
Okay.
There's I'm working on that.
No, that's awesome. Hey, hang on, back. You were supposed to write an article about this last year. And you haven't done that yet, have you?
Say that again?
Didn't I tell you to write this in an article last year? Because you were saying stuff like this last year.
Yeah, I've been saying that.
Yeah, you haven't written it down for me yet, have you?
No, but
Okay.
it's time I do it in 2 weeks.
I think it's time you get it done.
Yes, sir. But let me add one more thing.
Okay.
Why we
Have-
sacrifice goats for sin offering?
Why
Especially-
goats?
Yes. Sin offering is mostly goat or sheep, but on Yom Kippur, the sin offering is the goat.
Yeah,
We have goat and Azazel. Why?
well, because
And I'm
Okay.
that's I'm asking myself this question, Joe. You know why? It's because I'm doing a study on the sheep and the goat. When we're looking at the sheep and the goat, what does Yeshua say? We are the sheep. He never recognizes the goats as part of his sheepfold. And so with the goat, it represents the one who rejects the commandments, the Torah, rejects who Jehovah is,
no, I got
worship
it.
other gods. I'll get to that there in a minute. And it's meant for us to destroy it. So as part of repentance and recognize we have walked away from him and that we need to return to him. Because
you
the
can
Lamb
use
of
it.
God that takes away the sin of the world, not the goat.
You can use a lamb or a goat for your Passover offering.
Yes.
And the goat in Leviticus 16 is Jehovah, which
Well,
is
that's-
also the same. Huh?
You're gonna disagree on that one because I'm gonna say it's the beast. And then the Azazel is the dragon that taken away for 1,000 years in the wilderness and in the bottomless pit.
Yeah, the beast is not sacrificed for a sin offering. Jehovah is.
Well, that's why we need to go back and revisit that one.
Okay. Not today. My
No,
brain is-
not today, but it's related to Yom Kippur because it's about we recognizing that we have been worshiping idols and not worshiping Him, and part of what do you call the process of fasting and repentance from Yom Kippur is to recognize what do we do when we're worshiping idols? Is we destroy it and burn it down. And the goat represent that we are destroying the goat and burning it down to recognize our sin and repent from it. That's Judgment Day. It's not Salvation Day. Yom Kippur is not Salvation Day, it's Judgment Day.
Yeah.
And so when we recognize the enemy is the goat, because his twin brother is the dragon that's been sent away, then it changes. And I'm going against culture here. I'm going against teachings of traditions. And this is a challenge to me, and I hope I can present it to you next time.
Okay. I don't know. Anyway. Okay, let me bring Ilya in here. Ilya, welcome.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Can you hear me?
Yeah, did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
You can call me Elijah or Eliyahu. It's just a Russian version of it.
Okay, where are you from?
Belarus originally.
Okay.
So I want to comment on the whole kind of the traveling thing and the pilgrimage that was brought about a little bit earlier. So I'm going to use my own Exodus paradigm because that's the only thing that I could really talk about. So I say we, that's my mom, dad, and 7 kids. We escaped a type of Egypt, I guess you could call it, before the official collapse of Soviet Union. So that pilgrimage doesn't always look like you're going to come from one place to another in one fell swoop. Our pilgrimage happened before the travel rights, because at that time, U.S. did not permit anyone to enter their country. And that was 1989. And I think, I was 13 at that time. So our pilgrimage basically went to Austria and then to Italy. It sounds all very glamorous, but anything but that, because we basically gave away all of our garbage and just took whatever was on our back, came to America. But if and when God really guides his flock, his sheep, he may do it in a very similar fashion. So, I mean, granted, if I stayed in Belarus, I would be a lot closer to Israel than I am now, because now I have to go across oceans and all of that. I could just traverse against, through mountains and prairies and get there if God really wanted me to. But he wanted me to experience the traversing through the wilderness, spiritually speaking, until I end up where I am today. So whether that's talked about Indonesia or who knows what, I just want to give people a little bit of comfort that we can't haul all of our possessions sacred. I call it garbage because it's all garbage. It's all going to pass away. But whenever he does lead us, we just got to be willing not to hold those things sacred and truly listen to his voice, because we may have a pilgrimage that does look like going from, who knows, from United States or Canada to Greece and then back to some other place. And you're like, what the heck am I doing? I'm further away from point B than I am now. So I just want to comment on that. That's all.
No, and thank you. And thank you for joining us. We yeah, the route that we're taking, we don't know where it's going to be, and it may not be a direct route. Moses was, the direct route was to go over top of the Red Sea and into Midian. But when he got to that point, they stopped and then they turned around and they went down into the wilderness. And Pharaoh says he's got lost in the mountains. But that was so Jehovah could do a miracle. So yeah, we don't know exactly how this is all going to go. We just study the best we can and figure out as much as we can with our understanding. Rebecca.
Yes, when Sarkis was talking about Yom Kippur and the two goats, Rabbi Greg Hirschberg on his message on Yom Kippur a few days ago, he has an interesting touch on that, saying that one goat was sacrificed, that's the blood, and then the other goat, the sins, putting the guilt, putting on head of the goat and let go, is that even we are forgiven with the blood, we still can be bent under the guilt, and that needs to be resolved. And then he associated with Yeshua being on the stake, and blood and water came out of his side, the blood for forgiveness and the water for cleansing. So that was quite new and interesting to hear. One goat sacrificed for the sin and the other one for the guilt to be taken away.
Yeah, the Azazel is the responsible goat. It's the one that brought sin into the world. It represents Satan. So it's put back on his own head. And again, we have that demonstrated in the book of Revelation, where that angel comes down and takes Satan, locks him away for 1,000 years. It's the exact same scenario. Okay, thank you, Rebecca. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think where I see a pattern of two people being placed before the priest and the crowd was when Yeshua, the son of the Father, is placed right next to Barabbas, who means son of the Father, and he's guilty by the law, and the priest end up convincing and yelling that Yeshua should die instead of him. So Barabbas, being guilty by the law, is set free, and Yeshua dies in his place when he didn't break any law at all.
Yep. Yep. You're right. Okay. I'm going to disappear. You guys are more than welcome to carry on. And, but I just want to tell you some stuff. So, who was it? Ilya just mentioned about our garbage. And I'm down to 2 suitcases now. It's pretty much all of my possessions. I have stuff in storage. But we're about to do some things as well. I am heading back to the Philippines in probably 6 weeks' time, or maybe 2 months' time. Before I do that, I'm going to try and head down to Michael Rood and Rico Cortez in Carolina and Florida, United Church of God in Ohio, Philadelphia Church of God in Kansas, and I'm not sure about any others after that, and try and share this understanding with them if they'll listen. We went to a Worldwide Church of God group in the Philippines, and we had a meeting with them, and then 10 minutes after he said yes, he called back and said no, and now he won't return any of our calls. So, if the door is closed, the door is closed. But I'm going to knock on the door. I'm not going to kick them in, but I am trying. So I do get frustrated. I enjoy our conversations here with people who understand a lot of things that we're talking about. You may not all agree. We may get into a little dust up every once in a while. Where is Glenn, by the way? I haven't heard him at all today, except for one little moment. But yeah, I enjoy it here, but I am doing a lot of different things, trying to get them to happen. And we are trying to make things happen in the Philippines, not make things happen, do our part so that other things can happen. There is a lot going on. So I crave your prayers and I thank you for them. Also, I'd like to keep my mother in prayer because she's, we've moved her again to be closer to my sister, and now her dementia and confusion has gotten a little bit worse. And we're trying to get that settled down. I've also said that if I had to, I would take her with me to the Philippines, but I'm not sure if that would solve the problem because I'm traveling in the Philippines quite a bit, not just staying in one spot. So there's something else. What did I forget? There's something else. Oh, well, it'll come up later. Keep an eye on everything. Listen to what we're saying. Prove what we're saying wrong. Please prove what I'm saying wrong. And then tell me. But it's got to be proof. It can't just be a difference of opinion. And then we don't have to do this. But until someone does it, I'm going to keep on doing it. Well, I can't remember what, Randy, I didn't tell you what the other thing was either, did I? Oh, Randy and I were supposed to head to Mount Sinai again here in October. Maybe he forgot. I'm still trying to do that. I don't think it's going to happen. I got too much to do here right now. I do want to go see that blue stone before we forget about it. And next year we're going to be at Jerusalem looking for the abomination to be set up. So what that is, where that is, we're not 100% sure, but we think we do know when the date is. Is there anything else, Randy?
Good to see you, brother. We'll go ahead and close out today and we'll end the recording and we'll do tour portion next week. So. No
Yeah,
worries.
I didn't even look at the tour portion for today. Did I get the right week this week? I know I had the wrong, what am I still in the wrong week?
Yeah.
So a week ahead on the newsletter yesterday.
I'm a week ahead?
No, you're a week behind.
That's right. We're a week ahead actually teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So you
We're-
guys skipped
We
a week.
should have done Leviticus 22 today, and I think you posted Leviticus 21.
Okay.
Tony, that's only because you
Sorry, can I
started.
say something?
Say again,
Joe,
James?
I would,
Go ahead, Victoria.
sorry, I can't find the hand on my phone. I just want to say, I can hear that you're very tired, Joe. Your voice is tired. But
I am.
we are praying for you, and I really just speak life into you, life into your body and into your circumstances. And may you be aware of the presence of Jehovah in and around you every moment of your day.
Thank you. I am aware, not all the time, but so many times I see him doing stuff and I'm just, wow. I mentioned the newsletter, I got mad at Ike and Dennis. I fell asleep in the car and then they changed the plans and we didn't go to the hotel. I looked like a bum. I felt scummy. And I'm going to meet this man that I thought was fairly important. I still think is important. And I looked like terrible. And they thought that was okay. And I got mad at them. And then we get to the meeting. I really didn't have to say anything. I already had the speaking position at Cebu before I even went to the meeting. So yeah, I'm learning to go with the flow, but it's hard. But if you see the stuff we're doing, Randy knows the places that we're staying in. Randy knows the conditions of the places we're staying in. I stayed at a 5-star hotel before I came back to Canada just to see what it was like. And that was just for 3 days before my flight left. But yeah, my voice is done. Dennis, and when we're in Cebu, had the air conditioner at 16 degrees. 16 degrees. That's freezing cold for a Canadian.
Except
And-
in Saskatchewan.
Yeah. But I think I caught a cold there. So I've checked myself a few times. I do not have COVID. I've turned up negative each time, but I'm tired. I am tired. It's been a long, grueling 7 weeks. And the places where we've tried to rest, I don't get, for me, I need a place where nobody's bugging me to rest. So I can just go and study or do my own thing for a day. But I don't get that. There's always somebody asking questions, always somebody wants to talk to you. And do you have a moment? Yes, I got a moment. Yes. And it's awesome. I love it. But it does wear you out. So
Boundaries, Joe.
hmm?
There has to be times when you say the word no. I'm not available.
Yes, the boundary is at the Canadian border. And when I'm there, you got to see how hungry these people are.
Yeah.
You just want to give them as much as they can take. So it's pretty cool, pretty awesome. And I'm so privileged to be able to do this. Yeah, I don't have any regrets about being sick for a little bit. Victoria, you got your hand up again.
Yes, I found it.
Oh,
I just want to know if listening to you, it doesn't sound as if you'll be able to do a tour group again.
to Israel?
Yes.
Yeah, we'd have to leave here probably tomorrow. The next one I do with Randy, only because Randy might carry me with him when I can't run. And I can trip them so they have someone to take, and so I can at least get a little bit of a head start. But Randy was with me last March, and
Yeah.
we went and seen the potential sites and tried to figure out where this thing is and what it's going to be. But other than that, there's nobody looking for it. So I think we have to go back there and look for it. And that will be before Sukkot. And if it does show up, we have to flee before Sukkot. So this is the other thing I wanted to say. If they put up the red heifer offering, just stop and think for a moment. Let's do the offering. Let's say they even got it in the right spot. Let's just do it. What does that mean? That means you now have the green light to go ahead and build an altar or a temple. Where is the temple going to be built? The Dome of the Rock or the Alaska Mosque? That's a war. Is this going to be preempted by Iran striking Israel for making the offering? Is it going to be a surprise attack, nuclear attack? I don't know. But just doing the red heifer offering is going to open up Pandora's box for attacks. And because who is supporting Israel? There is, Trump could be back in office. He could win the election. Was it the next year? There's so many things coming into play here. I don't know, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. But we got to be watching. We got to know what to watch for.
Okay, I'm going to close in prayer so that Joe can leave. Jehovah, our Heavenly Father, you have given us your word, and we are diligently searching through your word because we want to know you. We want to understand every pattern and every principle that you have shown us in your word, because we want to understand. We want to be where we're supposed to be at the appointed times. We want to be your pure, spotless bride. And Father, we thank you for what you have revealed to Joe. We thank you that Joe has tirelessly used his body, his writing skills, his efforts to share these things with us. Father, we ask that you lift him up. You continue to encourage him and strengthen him and through this fatigue that he has, this cold that he has, that you give him a minute to just sit still. Father, we know that there are things going on in his personal life that are requiring his attention. Father, we ask for your blessing and your peace over all of that. We ask that you protect and provide for his mom. We ask for blessing for his sister. Father, we ask for blessing over Joe's household. Father, we thank you that Joe has got to the point where his few possessions are the things that he can carry with him. We ask that you give him comfort, whether he's in a 5-star hotel or whether he's sleeping on a hammock between 2 trees. Father, thank you that he is learning to be fluid.
Go with the flow.
To go with the flow, to open his hands and not try and control everything. Father, thank you for testing him and giving him a trial in that moment. But Father, thank you for showing him that you are with him and you are providing for him because he has a job to do. Father, thank you for everything that you've revealed to us. And we want to know you. We want to understand this abomination because we don't want to be anywhere near it. We don't want to follow it. We want to study your truth so that we don't fall into any counterfeit at any point, that we be able to see it clearly. Father, thank you for the brethren that have joined together. Thank you for the unity that we have in our community, that we can chew on the word, on the meat, the hard things, and that we haven't just sat on our laurels trusting in the milk of the word, that we're actually digging deep. Father, thank you for drawing us together. And until we meet again next week, Father, protect each one of us and build our relationships. In Yeshua's precious name. Amen.
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 Thank you all. And we got a leadership meeting on Tuesday. That'll be nighttime, my time. So we'll see you there. And we'll see everyone else here next Shabbat. The room's open. And oh yeah, we're still recording. So yes, I forgot. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom, everyone. See you later.
Thank you,
Okay.
Joseph. Good to see you again.